I'm your host, Alex R. Wagner. I love how Twitch isn't connecting, specifically just because it's a mobile live stream. Like, get with the fucking picture. Get with the fucking picture, alright? Welcome to another episode of No News is News. I'm your host, Alex R. Wagner, and today it's Sunday. Are we ready for the Kelchi poll, as it is every day on this show? Who will be president in 2028? Let's look at the odds. And they're the same as they've always been. And here we go. I also need a ChatGPT. How many days? ChatGPT. How many days till 2028 election? We're only 100 days until the midterms. 835. All right, 835. Who will be president in 2028? 835 days until election. We're 100 days out from the midterms today. J.D. Vance sitting pretty with 64 wins. And then we got Mr. Marco Rubio, and he's got 4 wins. And then we've got Gavin Newsom, and he's got 19 wins. And then we got John Ossoff, who's not won yet, but yesterday he got really close to the runoff. Customization. Let's get a little bit of the. Let's put them in the right category. And we are No News is News with Alex R. Wagner. Hit save and pull up the chat. I'm pulling up the chat now. The chat is live. All right, guys. Are you ready for another episode of No News is News? Let's get to the news, the Mo news of the day. Mo news of the day. Mosh news team. But that's not, wait. But they approved me. But they approved me. What? I could have swore they approved me. Alright, guess they didn't. Alright. 1 second. Let me pull this up. God damn it. I hate when this happens. Come on. Mo News. Mo Not News. Join Premium. I'm already a Premium member. Log me in. Come on. Log me in. Why are you making me join again? Come on. Goddamn fucking PBS bullshit. Log in. Okay. And then from there, I can... What? I thought I could see the open Instagram. Yeah, but I fucking requested it and they didn't give it to me. What the fuck? Access now. There we go. Sorry, guys. That was the second thing. Okay. Here we go. NBC. President Trump directs signs installed outside of Smithsonian Museum over accurate concerns. The National Park Service was directed Friday to install temporary signs outside of the Smithsonian National Museum on American history. The signs are intended to correct what the White House considers inaccurate information at the museum and direct visitors elsewhere for accurate information regarding the history of the U.S. The order is tied to the White House's report. The White House's report released July 4th by the Domestic Policy Council, which accused the Smithsonian of advancing what it called racial left-wing ideologies. The signage will promote that report and inform visitors it should be enforced, which is consistent with the March 2025 executive order Trump signed targeting federal funding for programs presenting what he described as diversity narratives and improper ideologies. The order comes 2 days after House Republicans grilled Athena Hartwig, historian and director of the Smithsonian and History Museum, testified about the museum's program. Hartwig, in turn, rebuffed the report's finding, inviting lawmakers to tour the museum. After questioning Hartwig about white supremacy, Texas Republican Brandon Gill then asked her, "Is Mickey Mouse racist?" After Hartwig replied no, Gill then referenced an exhibit that pointed to the design of Mickey Mouse being inspired by a racist minstrel show of the 19th century. When Hartwig attempted to explain the placard, Gill responded, "Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism. Is that your testimony?" Jesus Christ, guys. That's crazy what they're doing to these people. All right. New York Times. Hartwig was repeatedly taken to task during the hearing for 2 recent shows, one of which, Entertainment Nation, included explicit sexual imagery. Another, Girlhood, It's Complicated, discussed struggles with gender identity among young women. Some historians have also criticized the federal government's attempts to overhaul the Smithsonian as ideologically motivated. I cannot recall a single instance where exhibits have been directly wrestled with by the upper echelons of the federal government, said Samuel Redman, a history professor at the University of Massachusetts Amster, who has written extensively on the Smithsonian history. Redmond said that many observers have been dismayed by the aggressiveness of the White House's efforts to take control of the Smithsonian and its 21 museums. CNN. The back and forth comes as Trump administration earlier this month followed through on its pledge to rework and then install panels about slavery at the site of President George Washington's home in Philadelphia. The original panels were put in place in 2010 and told the story of how 9 slaves lived in the home along with George and Martha Washington in the 1790s, when Philadelphia was briefly the nation's capital. The city of Philadelphia had sued the federal government over the removal. A lower court forced the federal government in February to remove the new panel after they already had been installed earlier this year. A 3-judge panel of the U.S. Third Court of Appeals revised and ruled July 3rd that the work could continue. The replacement panels still talk about the slaves, but do not include some of the detail in the earlier ones, such as map of the slave trade routes and the timeline on slavery. They also avoid critical headlines such as the dirty business of slavery. Originally, he was, back when Disney was based, I like Ronnie D., currently governor of Florida. Ron has done a good job. Not going to lie, you might be right. All right, we'll see. AP News, Iran-backed Houthis claim missile attack on Saudi Arabia. Iranian-backed Houthis launched a missile attack on Saudi Arabia after Rahed launched strikes on targeted links to the group on Friday. The terror group had vowed retaliation after Saudi Arabia launched airstrikes on Houthi targets in the Yemeni port city of Hondoro on Friday. The Houthis, who controlled much of the northern Yemen, have been fighting a Saudi-led coalition since 2015 after seizing Yemen's capital and forcing the internationally recognized government into exile. Although a UN brokered truce in 2022 sharply reduced cross-border fighting, the Yemen-Saudi conflict has killed hundreds of thousands of people through combat and the humanitarian crisis it triggered, making it one of the world's deadliest wars. And yet we're worried about Gaza and Iran. Okay. AP News, European fire update. The Tour de France last stage Sunday is being slashed in length by a third to divert officers to fight against the wildfires in the country's southwest. The Paris Police Department said in a statement Saturday that the riders will race inside Paris rather than starting from Tormos, west of the capital, on the circuit of 55 miles, down to an 82.5-mile route that has been planned. The statement said part of the security deployment planned for the 21st and final stage of the 3-week race will instead reinforce the response efforts in the area affected by the wildfires. So basically, they're doing the same race. It's going the same length as the Tour de France, but they're having them go into Paris so that the police officers can be closer to the wildfires. Wildfire smoke turned the sky to an eerie shade of orange over Lucia Ocean in southwest France on Thursday. Well, it's great. Tons of smoke and wildfires in the northwest will pump across the United States and Canada in the days ahead. In the east, air quality won't be much of an issue, but haze will become noticeable on Sunday and Monday. Here's the U.S. Things are about to get hazy again as Canadian wildfire smoke continues to broil. Lettuce or smoke? Trump threatens tariffs on Mexico over diarrhea, Canada over wildfires. Trump threatened Friday to impose new tariffs on Canada over the wildfire smoke. About half of the hundreds of wildfires burning in Canada are in remote areas with no road access. Too difficult to reach. Many are left to burn. Democratic nominee Troy Jackson to replace Graham Plattner in Maine race. Former state senator President Troy Jackson officially became Democrats' Senate nominee in Maine, starting a 101-day sprint to Election Day in a nationally watched must-win race for his party. Hundreds of Democrats gathered in Bangor on Saturday morning for the state convention to pick their Senate nominee after the primary winner. Graham Plattner ended his campaign earlier this month after a sexual assault allegations, which he denied. Collins on what she thinks of Jackson. He's a Bernie bro, she says. Some of Jackson's acceptance speech, we watched that yesterday. AP News, follow-up to India's Education Minister Dharam Parid resigning on Saturday. Iran's cockroach movement called off its weeks of protest on Saturday, saying the government had accepted all of its demands after the country's education minister resigned over alleged exam paper leaks and irregularities in the education system. The youth movement had spearheaded nationwide demonstrations, sit-ins, and hunger strikes. It started as a call for education reform, but grew into a broader protest over unemployment, government accountability, and economic opportunities. Following Parid's resignation, movement organizers called off the protests, saying the government had accepted their remaining demands. Those included broader reforms to India's education system, comprehension for families of students who died by suicide following exam paper leaks, and commitment that no legal action would be taken against those who participated in the protests. In Hawaii, this is from Fox News and the New York Times, Hawaii's lieutenant governor indicted in state corruption investigation. A grand jury on Friday accused one of Hawaii's highest-ranking elected officials of bribery, a major development in a years-long political scandal. Democrat Hawaii Lieutenant General Salvi Luke was indicted by a grand jury on charges of criminal conspiracy to commit bribery, and falsifying candidate committee reports stemming from a bribe she allegedly took as a state lawmaker in 2022. The incitement alleges that the local businessman and lobbyist Toby Ladumba offered Luke a $35,000 bribe connected to the COVID-19 testing contract a company he recommended had with the state. Sodom also indicted as part of the state attorney general's probe. Before any charges were announced, Luke had taken a leave of absence. She was replaced by an acting lieutenant general of the lieutenant governor, and abandoned her bid for re-election. So she's going to go to prison. All right, LeBron James taking a massive pay cut as he accepts a 2-year, $8 million contract with the Philadelphia 76ers as he aims for another championship. He won his last NBA championship in 2020 with the LA Lakers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All 8 seasons of the LA Lakers, he made $351 million. In 4 seasons with the Cavs, upon his return, he made $108 million. With his 4 seasons in Miami, he made $67 million. And his initial first 7 seasons, he made $62 million. He's only going to make $16 million over 2 years for these Philly years. Interesting analysis on LeBron James' choice and possible future in Philly. The Atlantic headquarters. Inside LeBron's Philadelphia decision, why pretty much everyone was completely in the dark. A skeptic might look at LeBron James's joining the Philadelphia 76ers on July 24th as a scheme that was planned long ago. Announced on the 24th, day of the month for his 24th NBA season, a 2-year, $8 million deal. One of his idols growing up, Philadelphia native Kobe Bryant, wore numbers 8 and 24. Any numerologist would eat this stuff up. James dragged out one of the longest free agencies for a star in NBA history, 25 days, just because he could, stringing along the 4 franchises, the fan bases who weren't going to get his talents, poking commissioners Adam Silver along the way for demanding an answer so the league could finish the 2026-2027 NBA schedule on time. James was basically going to pay a veteran's minimum salary regardless of where he played, so there was no negotiation to be had. It was just up to him to decide a team. His agent informed the team late Friday morning, shortly before social posts went live, that James was officially going to the 76ers. He wasn't worried about the theater, a person close to James told The Atlantic. This was a critical decision for him, the first time he had an opportunity to ask himself these questions. Where do I want to play? Where can I win? Without money being a factor and with nothing left to prove, nothing owed to anyone, there was no plan. There was no press conference planned in Philadelphia. This was just about LeBron deciding where he would feel most comfortable and where he would like to end his career. For the Sixers, it opened a window to win their first championship since 1983. No NBA player has won 4 championships with 4 different teams, which is what James will be attempting to do, claiming that winning 4 championships and 4 rings with 4 different teams puts him on par with Michael Jordan's 6. With Embed, Jillian Brown, Therese Maxey, and VJ Edgecombe on the roster, anything short of a championship would mean LeBron's storied career ends in a failed attempt to chase the ring and the prodigy, the GOAT, known as Michael Jordan. So how did the Sixers win the latest and the last LeBron sweepstakes? According to The Atlantic, everything changed in Philadelphia when the first-year president of the basketball operation, Mike Gensey, pulled off the bombshell acquisition of Brown, the 2024 NBA Finals MVP, from the Boston Celtics for Paul George and 4 future picks, 2 first-round and 2 second-round, on July 1st, after James had already announced his decision to leave the Lakers. AP News, Trump administration admins grant the clean energy were canceled based on politics. The Trump administration acknowledged in court documents that it canceled $7.6 billion in grants for hundreds of clean energy projects based solely on the political identity of the grant recipient's state. In this case, 16 states that voted for Democratic Kamala Harris in 2024's presidential election. The statement contradicts repeated assertions by Energy Secretary Chris Wright that other officials that the projects were canceled because they did not adequately advance the nation's energy needs or had other problems that made them poor investments of taxpayer dollars. Democrats and environmental groups seized on the court filing Friday, saying the administration had weaponized the federal government to kill good jobs and punish working families because of their political views in blue states. The Energy Department announced last October that 321 funding awards across 223 projects were determined, saying that after review, they did not adequately advance the nation's energy needs or were not economically viable. The cuts are part of a broader attack on by President Trump on climate programs and clean energy, only specifically in blue states. Donald Trump posts a tweet of the wall between Canada and the United States. Trump posts on Truth Social a wall between Canada and the United States, claiming it's time to build the wall. Convo between former President Obama and Caitlin Clark getting a lot of buzz and notable as some on the left progressive side accuse her of racism. Okay. Let's see what we got. This is from CNBC. IMAX 70mm screens become the biggest star of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. Moviegoers are traveling long distances and to compete for tickets to see The Odyssey in IMAX 70mm, directed for Christopher Nolan's desired format. Just 25 U.S. theaters and 41 worldwide are showing the Universal film in the format, helping drive premium ticket demand. As adult IMAX 70mm tickets for opening weekend ran the typical attendee $27.77, according to the Intelligent report. In Austin, like in fucking Austin, Texas, the tickets are for the actual legitimate IMAX are still only $15. Only in Austin, my guy. Keep Austin weird. Keep Austin cheap. Keep art cheap. Keep art up. Sold out till August 23rd, though, because it is $15. That 81% more expensive than the average cost of the administration across formats. The IMAX CEO, Richard Glenfowl, said IMAX 70mm screens will run for months. While some theaters have extended runs, IMAX can't quickly multiply screening counts to meet the surge of interest because most theaters are not big enough nor equipped with the high-cost machinery necessary to project the gigantic rolls of 70mm film. Theater screenings, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey in IMAX 70mm, the managers of the only IMAX 70mm in Indiana said that the more than half of the audience members for the first day of showings traveled at least 50 miles. The team welcomed visitors from more than 20 different states, fielding requests from moviegoers attempting to score tickets for places as far-flung as Switzerland. The star-studded adaptation of Homer's epic made $123 million domestically and more than $263 million globally during its opening weekend, marking Nolan's strongest global opening weekend ever, surpassing The Dark Knight. I don't want to hear about your wokeness no more. You lost. Oh no, there's a black lady in the movie. Oh no, there's a transgender without tits. Bigger than The Dark Knight. The end. Trilogy and the 2023 Oscar winner Oppenheimer. It is on course to post Nolan's best second weekend ever at the box office with $84.5 million this weekend. Berlin Pride Parade called off after car hits crowd. Police are searching for the suspect. This is from Reuters. A car drove into the crowd near Berlin's Pride celebrations on Saturday evening, injuring several people, Berlin police said. We are searching extensively for suspects, police said. Hundreds of thousands of people had gathered in the German capital for the annual Christopher Street Day celebration, one of Europe's largest pride events before the incident ended the festivities. Police said on the social media platform X that they were responding with emergency services to an incident in the city's central Tigerian Park close to the Brandenburg Gate, where a vehicle had struck multiple people. No fatalities have been reported at this time. And then, this is from Susan Wiles. Some late afternoon meetings in the Oval White House are more interesting and historical than others. Listening to two brilliant White House speakers and President Trump talk about issues of the day is just one of so many reminders of how fortunate I am to have this job. And I am now apparently the longest serving chief of staff to President Trump. Such an honor. President Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, posted Saturday about holding the job under Trump longer than anyone else, while also posting a photo of Mike Johnson and Newt Gingrich sitting privately with Donald Trump. Update, 1 dead and 14 injured in Berlin. A car drove into a crowd during Berlin's famed LGBTQ plus pride on Saturday, killing one person and injuring at least 15, prompting police to call off the event in German capital hours after it had begun. Police said some of the victims had life-threatening injuries. Firefighters and ambulances were out with many emergency staffers at the scene to attend to the victims. New York Times, Trump holds off on major escalation against Iran as advisors raise concerns. President Trump has set aside, at least for now, plans to sharply escalate the American military assaults against Iran, with particular concern that intensifying the war could dangerously drain the Pentagon's already diminished stockpile of Patriot anti-missile interceptors and other air defense ammunitions in the Middle East. The threat to The threat to interceptor stockpiles is one of many considerations that has made a return to major combat operations a hugely risky endeavor, the New York Times reports. Trump and his top aides are also uneasy about the prospect of winding down the war in the Middle East, the alienation of key Gulf allies who are vulnerable to the Iranian attack, a global economic crunch, and a growing energy and refugee crisis. The latest turn comes after a meeting on Friday with top advisors and with Newt Gingrich in the top Trump cabinet officials. General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, has reportedly cautioned privately that resuming major combat operations against Iran was doable, but that it could dangerously deplete interceptors available to the military central command, which is responsible for operations in the Middle East. It comes after 3 American soldiers were killed last Friday when an Iranian ballistic missile slipped through American air defenses in Jordan. Update from the attack on LGBTQ pride events in Germany. Islamic extremist is ID'd. Wow, we couldn't have guessed that one, right? Police ID suspected Islamic extremists in deadly LGBTQ pride attack in Germany. German police suspected an Islamic extremist carried out Saturday night's deadly van attack on crowds leaving Berlin's Pride celebration, killing 1 person and injuring at least 16 others, several with life-threatening injuries. The suspect, who remains on the run, is known to authorities as the member of the Islamic circles of the German capital. Vehicle ramming attacks have become a recurring tactic used by terrorists, particularly in Islamic extremists in Europe, because they require little planning and no firearms or explosives. Recent examples include the 2024 Christmas market attack in Nuremberg, Germany, the 2025 New Year's attack in New Orleans, Louisiana, the 2025 Mensch car attack, and the 2016 Bastille Day attack in Nice, France, which killed 86 people. And that's the news for the day, guys. Let's get into the show today. First up, we have an interview with the one, the only, Mr. Netanyahu. Are we ready for the yoo-hoos? Are we ready for the yoo-hoos? Yoo-hoo? Are you ready for the yoo-hoo? All right, guys. Got to shut off those Bluetooths, make sure we get this on there right. And here we go. Damn it. I hate when that happens. And here we go.
Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good to be with you, Maria.
So, Prime Minister, you just heard what Zohran Mamdani had to say. He's calling you a war criminal. You're not welcome in New York City. We, of course, also heard from President Trump on this and many others who said this is absolutely not happening. But what are your plans? Are you still going to come to the UN General Assembly? Are you concerned about coming to New York?
No, I'm not concerned, and I certainly intend to do so. I've appeared just about every year, not every year, but almost every year in my prime ministership, unless there are security conditions. But barring that, and I don't expect that to be the case this time, yes, I do intend to come to New York.
The International Criminal Court
I totally forgot he's my president, not Trump.
Warrants for you and your former defense minister for genocide. What is your response to this?
Well, the one who promoted that was the ICC, the International Criminal Court prosecutor, who has since been completely exposed as a criminal. He himself was accused, was going to face charges of sexual harassment by 2 women. He knew that. And he was going to come to Israel, and he spoke warmly about Israel's judicial system and the fact that there has to be an extensive investigation before any conclusions are gone. And on the day that he was supposed to visit Israel, he canceled everything, called a news conference, and accused me and the former defense minister of war crimes. Now, we learned why. Because a few days before that, he was basically confronted by his chief of staff, who said, you know, these 2 employees of you, female employees of yours, are going to charge you with the sexual crimes. So he thought, how am I going to divert my criminality to something that will protect me? And the best way...
This is literally coming from somebody who literally polled members of the Iranian state out of Nevada because they were molesting teenage girls. Never prosecuted.
He thought was
This
Israel
guy
bashing,
did that.
Frankly,
So it's a little
bashing me,
weird for him to
and
be saying
thereby
this
getting
about
the
little
envelope, the
hypocritical.
protection of all the anti-Israel crowd, and that's basically what he did, and it worked for a while. But then the truth came out by various organizations, including the left-wing newspapers, The Guardian, and as it came out, he lost his job. He thought, if there's an indictment, I'm going to have a job. There was an indictment, and he lost his job because he was removed by a vast majority of nations who knew that he was a con job. So his name is Karim Khan. He pulled a con job on the international community with these bogus charges of war crimes on us.
Oh, I see why he's doing it. The guy who prosecuted him in the international court actually sexually assaulted women and had to leave his job. So yeah, we really shouldn't be listening to the judge that assaulted women when it comes to prosecuting Netanyahu. But wait for the next one, because I'm sure it'll be a
Now
blue-haired
he's gonna
lady and she'll
be in the
prosecute
dock.
you all over
And
again.
I think that tells you that the whole thing that the mayor of New York is basing himself on, this criminals, bogus charges, that's what he's using. And look at what he's doing. He's fomenting hate. He's supposed to be the mayor of all New Yorkers.
True.
Jews, Christians, Muslims, everyone. But he's trying to turn one group against the other, and he's foisting hate and fear. I speak to Jewish Americans in New York, and they're afraid right now. And I don't think it's accidental that after he made this hate speech against Israel and against me, the next day, a Jew is stabbed coming out of a synagogue. I think, and with a cry of Allah is Akbar, Allah Akbar. And you know what that
can't-
means.
yeah, you
So
can't
I think
deny that one.
It's shameful. This
That
thing is
happened
very bad
the next day.
for New York. I think it's very bad for peace. But the answer to your question, I intend to come and speak the truth, speak for Israel and for the Israeli-American alliance from the podium of the United Nations.
Well, this is a very important point that
I
you're
hate to
making,
have to
though,
agree
because
with
this
Netanyahu.
rhetoric from Zohran Mamdani is more than just talking about Israel and a personal fight that he's having with you. I'm wondering if you believe that this rhetoric is making Jewish New Yorkers unsafe. And is that what's behind so much upset and this anti-Israel sentiment raging across the country?
Well, I do think that Jews feel very uncomfortable because I speak to quite a lot of my friends, and they say, look, it's like a different world. We're afraid to go into the streets. We certainly do not want to wear yarmulkes or any clothing that would give away that we're Jews. But yes, they feel frightened, and I think that's part of this incitement language that is sweeping a lot of circles with anti-Semitism, a lot of circles in the West, in the United States, and unbelievably, in New York City, which has the second largest Jewish population in the world after Israel. And I think it's wrong. The whole thing is wrong. And what are they doing? I mean, what Mamdani is supporting, his wife, his family, he celebrated October 7th massacre, the worst massacre against Jews since the Holocaust. He's basically supporting, he tries to say that he doesn't, but he's supporting the Hamas murderers who raped our women, then beheaded them, burnt babies alive, slaughtered our men, took innocent people hostages.
Calm down, you're still on
261
Fox News,
men,
right?
women, children, babies. That's who he's supporting. And they're the ones who are responsible for genocide. They would have killed, as their charter says, and as they themselves proclaimed, they would have killed every single Jew in Israel and every Jew in the world. So the genocide charge belongs to our enemies. What we're doing is try to fight this genocidal terrorist organization that embeds itself among civilians, prevents us from moving the civilians out of harm's way. They use gunpoint. That's where the real criminals are. But Mamdani is aligning himself with the criminals, with these murderers. But the worst thing is that he's tormenting his own citizens, his own voters. No, that is wrong. And I've been to New York so many times, Maria, over the years. I've met all the New York mayors. They all saw themselves as mayors of all New Yorkers, not pitting one part of the population against the other.
Of course. Mr. Prime Minister, let me move on to the war, where we saw the highest, really, hostilities yet in the last week. What will it take to end this war?
I think it will. What will it take? It will take for Iran to understand, either for this regime to fall, or for Iran to realize that the cost of wreaking economic chaos to the world, murdering its thousands of its own citizens, and shooting at everyone. I mean, literally at everyone. At Saudi Arabia, at Bahrain, at Qatar, at Kuwait, at the UAE, at Israel, at Jordan, every single one. I mean, this is what this regime is doing when they don't have nuclear weapons. So imagine what they would do if they had nuclear weapons. I think when this regime is either toppled or it's sufficiently weakened that it knows it has to end its nuclear program and has to change its course. That's really what President Trump is trying to achieve, and I back his fully his efforts to do so. If he can do so without returning to intense military fighting, that's fine.
Because he's on the
why
Jewish
not?
News Network. He's on Fox News. It's the Jewish News Network, guys. The only people that watch Fox News anymore are New York Jews, right?
But one way or the other, they have to end
He's
their
talking
nuclear
to his
program.
people,
And
okay?
with a deal or without a deal, that has to come to an end.
How far back do you
It was
believe
Fox
Iran's
News.
nuclear program has been set back since this fighting began at the end of February?
Quite a bit. I mean, we knocked out 20 of their chief nuclear scientists in the 2 operations that we did with the United States, 20 leading nuclear scientists. We knocked out a lot of their facilities. It doesn't mean that they can't try to reconstruct, but we pushed them back a good few years. That's important because just imagine, I mean, what would happen if this regime that chants death to America, that's their real goal, death to America. If they had nuclear weapons and the means to deliver them to where you're sitting right now, Maria, to New York or to Washington or to any city in the United States, this would be a mortal peril to every citizen in the United States. And obviously, President Trump and I are both committed to prevent this danger to the United States, to the peace of the world, and to Israel. And I can tell you that we'll pursue all the means to prevent that. So yes, we pushed it back, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the attempt to restore it. And we have to be on the constant watch so it doesn't happen.
And you're getting set to travel to the U.S. to meet with President Trump and then attend the funeral
On
services
Tuesday.
of Senator Lindsey Graham. Prime Minister, what can you tell us about any fresh new intelligence that you may have about that nuclear program that you are about to present President Trump with?
Well, first let me say that Lindsey Graham is a terrible loss. He was such a great friend, such a champion of America and a patriot, and such a champion of the Israeli-American alliance. He believed in the benefits that Israel gives to the United States in terms of intel, weapons technology, and of course we appreciated very much all the help that we got from the United States. So he was an extraordinary American patriot, and we miss him greatly. As far as the nuclear program, we constantly exchange information. Our intel services and yours are working so close together that it's not that I'm going to present new information, but I think it's a good thing to have the opportunity to sit with our good friend President Trump and to hear what he has in mind, because I think in many ways it's his decision. But let me say one thing, and I think I should say it very, very clearly. If Iran attacks Israel, either directly or through proxies, either with ballistic missiles or UAVs or killer drones, it will make a terrible mistake, because our response, Israel's response, will be very, very forceful.
Prime Minister, Lebanon is also a key central to Israel's
I mean, I believe you,
long-term
but, like-
security. I want to get your take on the meeting in the White House with the president of Lebanon last week and your thoughts on whether or not he can be
Somehow seems less evil when Trump threatens it versus this guy.
a positive in this fight.
This guy's gonna blow
Well,
up
first
my
of all, I
house.
think we've already had a positive development, because remember, Hezbollah, that basically holds Lebanon hostage, had taken over the south of the country that borders on Israel. And they were going to invade us like the Hamas did on October 7th. They were going to do it actually with a force a lot bigger. They prepared terror tunnels. They had terror installations along the border. And we pushed them back. We pushed them back by 5 to 8 miles away from our border, destroyed a lot of these terror tunnels. And they were in a position to fire directly anti-tank missiles right into our living rooms across the border. Actually, they did that. So we prevented that from happening. I think we weakened Hezbollah a lot. They had 150,000 missiles.
What does
and
86
rockets
just want?
are the greatest
Please don't kick me out. Just want to know. 86 it means get rid of something. To 86 it, but James Comey was prosecuted for writing 8647, and ever since he did that, because they are saying that he's threatening the president's life, a lot of people now are saying the comment 8647 or 86 this person or 86 that person, and it's become this political thing for shorthand lingo for assassination. And Ryan just did it, so Ryan's going to get himself a 24-hour timeout. And anybody else that wants to play that game, because we don't play that game here. People actually die out in
of
the
such
streets
projectiles on the
of
planet
American politics
aimed against
in
Israel. We knocked out about
2026.
94% of that. So that's good for Israel, good for peace, good for Lebanon. But it's still there. We talked to the Lebanese government with your
It wouldn't be a problem
America's
if it wasn't
good
for like
offices
the
in
environment
Washington,
we're in right
led by the president and Secretary Rubio, and we got a deal. And the deal says openly, for the first time in decades, Israelis and Lebanese are talking directly to one another. And the deal was, we push back Hezbollah, we demilitarize Lebanon, we disarm Hezbollah, and we make peace.
No.
And I think the fact that this deal was put forward is a great advance. It shows that Hezbollah's ability to intimidate Lebanon's government and its president has been sharply reduced. Now, whether or not the Lebanese army can take over the areas that we clear up from Hezbollah, that remains to be seen. But we're willing to give it a try, and I think that it's on the whole a positive development, and may lead to another peace treaty between Israel and an Arab country.
Wow. Well, that's what I want to ask you about the Abraham Accords. But first, let me ask you this, because many Israelis are deeply divided on what your government is doing in the response to this. What do you want to say to critics who may not understand what you're seeing in terms of this
Ain't nobody
ongoing
criticizing you on this channel.
I think there's a lot more unity in the country than.
What do you want to see in the critics? Everyone's unified on Fox News. We're all good. We know who the bad guy is.
In the various statements by
To my critics? I don't have
most
critics.
Israelis understand. We have
I'm
to
not
fight
young.
Hezbollah. We're doing that,
critics
by
are
the way,
dead.
with an incredible ratio of 5 terrorists killed for every civilian killed. That's unheard
Yeah,
of.
it must be a troll,
and we
yeah.
do it because we precision target the terrorists. Hezbollah, like Hamas, embeds itself among civilians, but we've been able to reduce that ratio in Gaza.
Pre-recorded? This
Because
was earlier
the last
today.
thing we want is genocide. In fact, we want to hit the terrorists, not the civilians that they use as human shields. And we're very successful in doing that in Lebanon.
Probably
Most
2 or 3 hours
Israelis
ago.
understand that we have to keep the security
Everything-
zone
everything is-
that we have now. alive.
Everything on my show is completely curated to make sure that the only things that you're seeing are within the last time that I went live. So everything that you see is within the last 12, 14 hours. We never show you a video from 5 years ago and tell you that it's actually what's going on now. No need to worry on that. I've been in the media for fucking 17 years now. I know how not to do that
Alongside the
mistake.
Israeli border on the Lebanese
But this was
side.
earlier today,
in
and
order-
everything we're watching today is from the Sunday news programs of the 5 big networks and the 5 big Sunday news program shows. This week on ABC, Face the Nation on CBS, the #1 longest running political show, Meet the Press. You got MS Now and Fox News Sunday as well. They both tend to grab people, and we usually just on Sunday
in order
grab
to
whoever
prevent
takes
a new
the
invasion
major
attempt
media
by
time.
Hezbollah
Up next, we got
terrorists, and most
Senator John
support our
Kennedy on
efforts
Face
to
the
reach
Nation.
a peace with Lebanon. So I would think there's a lot more unity among Israelis than meets the eye. And if I'm elected again, we're going to have elections in a few months. I intend to.
Dude needs to shut the fuck up and let the video play. This is a political commentary and extended long show. So no, I'm not some like retard MAGA or like blue-haired person that like has some like regurgitated shitty live stream of Fox News for you. You can just scroll, and if I guarantee you, if you like scroll like 2 more times, you're gonna find that person, and then you can just watch a video feed of their TV for 24 hours. But yeah, this is an actual legitimate political show, so we do have opinions. I try not to talk over the person or talk too long because I get it. We do want to get through things.
To create a
I'm a rambler.
national government that will give expression
But you are
to
what
that
you need.
unity in the next government.
We're here for
And
conversations.
Prime Minister, I want to
Not to
get
stare
your
at the
take on
TV.
this Saudi deal over a nuclear deal with the U.S. Israel was concerned in the past about Saudi Arabia's ability to enrich uranium. But President Trump has done this civilian nuclear deal program with the Saudis on the condition that Saudi Arabia join the Abraham Accords. Are you expecting that? And what is your assessment of this nuclear deal?
Well, first of all, I think President Trump was absolutely right in stating that condition. That Saudi Arabia would get a civilian nuclear program in exchange for normalization of relations with Israel. I stress civilian because the last thing we want, and I'm sure the last thing the president wants, is a military program, nuclear program in Saudi Arabia. Can we have this? Yes, I think it's possible. Remember that we had 4 peace agreements between Israel and Arab nations.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He's like, I'll listen to Trump if I have to, but civilian only. Otherwise, we bomb him.
President Trump, with my working together with me, it's a great achievement, historic achievement, and obviously we'll be delighted if we could extend it to.
If you go and you look up I dropped a YouTube short like 2 days ago. There was a guy that was on Diary of a CEO, and he was trying to explain the Iran war through rice, like pouring rice. I'm telling you, Pocket, you want to go check that one out. That's a wild
Saudi Arabia and other countries. And I think if we weaken Iran further, we will.
Yo, they playing Netanyahu off.
Which countries are you expecting?
Sorry, we got a commercial to get to, Netanyahu.
The ones that I want to join.
I know we're in the middle of World War III, but play them off! Play them off!
They're joining by exposing them here. But I can tell you that we have, Maria, I'll tell you this. Everybody says Israel's isolated. It's not isolated. I mean,
bro doesn't give a shit. He's literally talking right through the playoff.
Many countries.
He made him drop the playoff.
In Africa, in Latin America.
What an ass.
In Asia, even in Europe. Many countries are coming to us because they want to share our technology, civilian technology. They want to benefit from our military prowess and technology.
Yes.
And there are now contacts with several Arab countries in the Middle East, but because I want to advance those contacts, I'd rather reserve my answer to a future appearance on your show.
Well, and we want you back. But real quick before you go, Mr. Prime Minister, the anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party, are you worried about losing the Democrat Party? Does it pose a risk to Israeli-U.S. relations? Real quick, sir.
Real quick.
Yeah, I'm very concerned with that, obviously, because I think a bipartisan
real quick, AIPAC is sponsoring the Fox News Network, so we just wanted to make sure that you made that ad placement before you got off the air. Real quick, can you condemn anti-Semitism for the rest of America, please? Thank you.
Israel is important, very important for us, but I'll tell you what I'm worried about most. I'm worried
anti-Semitism?
about the reasons that leading Democrats have said privately. One of them said it actually publicly of why they joined the radical fringe. And the reason is that their family has been harassed, that they're afraid of being tailed everywhere and being intimidated by this radical fringe. So I think that's really something that should worry every American. You don't want legislators taking their position because of personal intimidation. That's bad. Yes, I worry about it.
Mr. Prime Minister, good to have you this morning. We so appreciate your time.
All right, now to John Kennedy.
We turn now to Republican Senator John Kennedy, who joins us this morning from Madisonville, Louisiana.
By the way, anything coming out of this man's mouth, godly. And if you need a good laugh this Sunday, I encourage you to go and watch. It was about 2 weeks ago it dropped. John Kennedy on Theo Vaughn. It's the most Louisiana shit you will ever see in your life. And it is
Senator, it's good to have you on the program. I've got a lot to get to with you. Let me just button up where I left it with Ambassador Waltz, if I could, because that Saudi civil nuclear deal he was just discussing, it's got to go to you. It's got to go to Congress for approval. Are you comfortable with it?
No.
Fuck, I love him. Fuck, I love him. Are you comfortable with that Saudi Arabia thing everybody's saying? Everybody come? No. No. The end. No. No.
Maybe someday, but not
maybe someday. The god of common sense, everybody. Holy shit.
now.
Not now.
We're bombing a country to keep them from getting a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
But we're signing a deal with another country. I know it's a commercial agreement, but that the world perceives as possibly someday leading to a nuclear weapon. The world's on a hair trigger. The world looks at what's going on in Ukraine, the Middle East. The world looks at America's relationship now with Europe. People are scared. That's why I say hair trigger. And if you're running Japan or South Korea or Australia or Brazil or some
king of common
countries in
sense.
Europe, you're at least thinking about the need to acquire a nuclear weapon. And then you see this deal with Saudi Arabia, and it's just not good timing. I think someday it might be. I don't think it's going to happen anyway because the president's conditioned it on Iran, on Saudi Arabia recognizing Israel, and they're not going to do that.
Well, Saudi has said they'd be willing to, but they want a pathway for the Palestinians. The Israeli politics at the moment don't make that sound.
And the president's going to say, the president's going to point out correctly that we've got 26 of these 1, 2, 3 agreements with other countries.
Yes.
But the timing's not good.
Understood. It got a lot of attention this week.
That's not what she expected. She wanted to yell at him and be like, "So why are you defending Donald Trump?" And he's like, "I'm Senator Kennedy. I have my own fucking mind."
We're pretty sharp in your questioning there of the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth when he asked for $67 billion in funding for the Iran war. You said, just like our poll shows, you need more information. Did you get an agreement that you will be provided the classified, detailed briefing that you say is necessary?
I'm having breakfast next Wednesday with General Kane.
He's like, I don't think I'm getting the information, but they invited me to breakfast. Jesus Christ.
I've seen the poll. It looks about right. I support the president in Iran. We all need to do a better job messaging. I may end up with a sombrero on my head by saying this, but we all know the president. He exists loudly. He grows anxious when he has an unexpressed thought. He's not always disciplined in his messaging. I'm not saying he should stop talking. He's the president. I'm not. But I would put Rubio and Kane and Radcliffe and Hegseth out there, either in a speech or in a long press conference, to explain what's going on in Iran, why we went in, why we're still there. Now, the Democrats, I listen to Bernie. Bernie wants to just come home. He wants to turn out the lights, make sure the cat's inside, and go to bed. That would be a huge, huge mistake.
Well,
make sure the cat's inside and go to bed.
It's interesting because 67% of Americans want the war to end now. And during that questioning, you floated the idea to General Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, that the U.S. could stop in Iran, end the blockade, and bring troops home. He didn't lay out for you the potential consequences. But why did you ask that question? You're not advocating it. Why are you asking it?
Because I wanted to know the answer.
The king of common sense, everybody. Why did you ask that question? Because I wanted to know the answer.
Look, here's what I think we ought to do. I think we ought to tighten the sanctions on the sale of Iranian oil. I think we ought to continue the blockade and starve them out. I think we ought to bomb Pickaxe Mountain and try to reach what's underneath it.
I do too.
I don't have enough information to know about.
Because Pickaxe Mountain is literally like just rubble. It's not like anybody lives there. Like, drop 3 fucking nukes on it and make sure it's done. They're hiding their shit underneath the fucking earth.
The president likes the daily attacks.
Bomb that shit.
He believes that sometimes you have to kill a few chickens to scare the monkeys. That's not. I don't think that's going to work with.
Sometimes you got to kill a few chickens to scare the monkeys. I don't think that's going to work with Iran. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that, like, did you guys see that Channel 5? We did part 1. Hopefully part 2 drops today, but Channel 5 was down, like, literally in Iran last week. And everyone on the streets of the Soleimani funeral was like, I will die to defend against the United States, and I will fucking kill Israel, and and they're like, I don't think the strikes are doing what you think they're doing. I don't think they're reconsidering their path forward.
The Iranian leadership, these people are more than mildly insane. It's like dealing with the son of Sam or Charles Manson. But I don't think we ought to just cut and run. If we can stand the pain of the rising cost of energy, we need to stay.
But we can't. That's the problem. 65% of Americans say that the cost of gas is not right for the cost of Iran war. So when you say this, you're against your own party.
Of course. Yeah. At least for a few more months. I also don't think we need to send in troops. That's
at least for a few more months. What are we going to have a good Christmas or not?
What it's worth.
Is shit going to be cheap
Senator
or not?
Lindsey Graham's going to be laid to rest this week in memorial service. One of the things that he wanted up until his death was financial restrictions on the biggest buyers of Russian oil. There are 62 signatories to that bill. Filibuster-proof majority. Will it get voted on before the Senate breaks for summer?
Don't know.
Ooh.
And let me say.
Yeah. And you know what? And watch, he's going to be the one that goes against it. Because here's the thing. Kennedy, I think Massey is one of them. There's very few senators that literally would stay during vacation to actually vote. And I think that he's one of them.
Look, with respect to the Senate, doing nothing is hard because you never know when you're finished. We need to put the House budget resolution on the floor. It's the only chance we have to get money to defense, the farmers, and to take another crack at the SAVE Act. We need to add Iran to the Graham Russian sanctions bill and vote on it. We need to put the cryptocurrency market structure bill on the floor and vote on it.
All in 2 weeks.
I love John Thune.
All in 2 weeks, yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. All in 2 weeks, yeah. You should. You should be able to do those things in 2 weeks. You should be able to vote on a different bill every day. What she's saying is implying that, like, we can't do any of this within 2 weeks. And it's true. They're not going to do fucking shit. They're going to go on vacation. Should they? No. They should do what Kennedy is saying. They should be doing all this.
A few extra days. Look, I mean no disrespect. I love John Thune. He's my leader. He's got a big brain. He's better looking than me. But I think he's just being too cautious. He wants to spend the rest of our time talking with Senator Schumer about shutting down government. And the Graham-Plattner wing of the party his party's not going to let Schumer agree with us. They already want to give Schumer a bathrobe, a popsicle, and an early bedtime and have him retire. I don't think Chuck can agree with us. I think he's going to shut down government.
I want to go back. You just said you wanted to move forward on what the House.
You see how she just ignores that? Because we all know it. We all know that Chuck Schumer is going to be responsible for a third government shutdown in 2 weeks. Why even try to negotiate with them? Like Donald Trump said, it's time. If they're going to be radical and continue to shut down the government no matter what, then it's time to be radical as well, and it's time to break the filibuster and to get some shit done.
Just started the process.
This is getting
on.
bad.
That would be a party.
Go look up Johnny Harris has a great video on the opening of fascism. We looked into this like 2 or 3 months ago. That's what happened with fascism. The presidency was a real thing in Italy, and the Fascismo party literally was trying to overtake the Congress, and the Congress wouldn't do anything. So eventually, the president said, all right, I'm outlawing Congress. And then they said, oh, Fascismo? You guys are the fascist party.
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's time for fascism in the Republican Party. It's time to break the filibuster and move on.
The SAVE Act,
let's start doing something.
Or even some version of it is highly partisan, highly controversial. Bigger picture, isn't it going to hurt faith in our election process if a Republican-only policy to change how elections are run is rammed through 100 days, less than 100 days out from the election?
Let's see what he says to this.
No. In my opinion, for both sides to have credibility in the elections, in our elections, we need to do two things and only two things. Number one, you have to prove you are who you say you are in order to register to vote and to vote.
Yes.
And number two, however you decide to vote, that's up to the states. We need to go back to having an election day, not an election month. We've got to know the results of the election that night.
And what he's referring to there is the media's responsibility to report the owner the night of the election. And if they don't have enough information to report a winner of the election the night of, then it's the government's responsibility to give them the tools so that the media of America can report the fucking president the night of. Because yes, those 4 days of deciding whether Joe Biden was president are extremely dangerous. And if we ever do that again, there could be a U.S. civil war. We need to not have that happen again.
Or shortly thereafter if it's close. That to me is what the SAVE Act is all about. And I think we can pass it. And I think we can craft it in a way to survive a bird bath.
Grants, in other words.
But we're not going to know if we don't try.
Grants, in other words.
Exactly. We're not going to know if we don't try because, again, what is John Thune and the Republicans literally figuring out? They're not trying to figure out the SAVE Act and how to pass it with Chuck Schumer. They're literally trying to figure out how to get Chuck Schumer not to shut down the government in 2 weeks. That's going to happen anyway.
To incentivize, not requirements for states to take action.
Yeah, but
that's your version.
That's not the only thing. I've been contacted by some really smart people about a way to do it in addition to the grants. I'm not saying it'll work, but you're not going to know unless you try.
All right. Senator Kennedy, a lot of business to get to. I'm going to have to leave it there, though. Thank you so much.
All right, now to Bernie Sanders.
13 straight days of U.S. bombing, U.S. strikes were halted over the weekend. Regional sources tell CBS that talks between Oman and Iran on reopening the Strait of Hormuz appear to be headed in a positive direction. Although, caution, more negotiations are needed. As oil prices rose again last week to their highest level in more than a month, a new CBS poll finds 2/3 of Americans believe the U.S. should end the conflict with Iran now, while just 1/3 say it should continue until Iran makes further concessions. Only 35% approve of President Trump's handling of the war. Meanwhile, the Pentagon is asking Congress for additional funding as the costs of the conflict mount. We begin this morning with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome back to Face the Nation, Senator.
Good to be with you.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told Congress he needs $67 billion on an emergency basis.
All right, guys, give me 1 second here. Let's get into the poll of the day. We're in our second hour here because we're above 100 members. Stay with us. Make sure you double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into the runoff for the day. It once again is going to be who will be president in 2028. And it's 835 days until election. It's also 100 days until the midterms, guys. J.D. Vance with 64 wins up against Gavin Newsom with 19 wins. Choose carefully. The poll starts now. Hour 2 starts now. Let's go back to Mr. Bernie Sanders.
I know you object to the war, but we're in this thing now, and I know you want to help the troops. So how do you do that without providing the funding?
Well, Margaret, we need $67 billion to build housing, to make sure that all of our people have health care, that we deal with climate change, that we deal with a middle class, a working class in this country that is struggling. The war.
Baked Bisquick, thank you for keeping the conversations going, my guy, for having a great back and forth with our chat. Welcome to the Mod Club. Thank you.
In Iran is unconstitutional. It is illegal. Should never have been started We need to sit down, negotiate, end this war as quickly as possible.
So our polling that we just referenced there show that the president does have low approval ratings, but when it comes to Democrats, they actually fare slightly worse on this. When they were asked by CBS who has the better approach to Iran, 32% say Trump, and the GOP only 30% say Democrats. So what should the solution be here? Is there an affirmative vision from Democrats on how to get out of this?
The solution should be
Now, think about this. They're trying, Face the Nation, and Margaret over here is trying to get the most common sense people. I really do like her as a reporter. Watch how fucking Senator Kennedy was just talking, and watch what Bernie Sanders does here.
And by
This
the
is the
way,
problem with
both
Democrats.
the House and the Senate have voted for war powers resolution that makes it clear what Trump is doing is illegal. But given that we are where we are right now, let's sit down, let's negotiate with them, let's stop the killing, let's stop the devastation to our economy, which is raising gas prices all across the board. That's what we've got to do. Sit down, negotiate, let's end this war.
Just cut the losses where they are.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we are 100 days out.
So what Bernie Sanders wants to do is exactly what Joe Biden did with Afghanistan. He thinks that right now we should pull out, we should allow Iran to bomb New York City and to just deal with the rubble. Great solution.
Out from the midterm races. I know you've been working, going around the country
Glad
to help
I know
some
who
of
not
these
to vote for.
progressive candidates.
The fuck is that?
Maine is a state that could flip control of the Senate.
good reporter?
Yesterday,
She's a good
600 Maine primary delegates replaced
one of the better
scandal-ridden Graham Plattner with Troy Jackson. He's a logger. He's a progressive. He had been allied with Plattner before he called on him to wake out in the wake of those sexual assault allegations. I'm wondering, with 100 days out, can Jackson play catch-up here?
I think he can. I think what Troy, and I've known Troy for many years, what he understands.
And what I've known Troy for many years. So again, guys, the new hope, the new establishment of the party. I've known him for many years.
That the people of Maine are sick and tired of a rigged economy in which the billionaire class...
Maybe we're sick and tired of the billionaire class being spoken about by you, as you know everyone personally that can ever be an oligarch just like you, as you refuse to retire and you continue to keep your seat. For how long? For how long? The billionaire class, Bernie. The billionaire class, Bernie. Bernie Sanders. How long in Congress? Okay? We did Chuck Grassley the other day. The man shook hands with Eisenhower. He's been here as a 16 years as a House rep and then 19 years as a senator since 2007. 43 years in elected office. 43 years in elected office, and this motherfucker's going to tell me that we need to stop the billionaire class. Well, you've had 43 years. Maybe it's time to lay down and die.
Class is getting richer and richer.
God, I'm sick of the fucking old fucks doing nothing.
In the history of this country, while 60% of our people,
grift,
including in Vermont,
billionaire, fuck off,
are living paycheck to paycheck, trying to put food on the table, trying to pay for health care.
He's a millionaire. Yes, he's still fighting for us.
A few bucks for retirement. Troy understands that. He's a working class guy. He's from the...
Oh, really? So you already know Troy, and you know that Troy understands that, and you're best friends with Troy. But again, you and Troy, for the last 43 fucking years, have been fighting the billionaire class. And if only we win one more election, me and Troy will get to work, guys.
An excellent chance to win. The problem
no different than Hillary Clinton.
The problem that we have in Michigan and Minnesota right now, we have candidates Abdul El Sayed and Peggy Flanagan, is that the oligarchs, the billionaire class, are throwing unbelievable...
People that go and they go, oh, I actually like Bernie Sanders. It's like, have you been living under a rock post-COVID? The man couldn't even beat Joe Biden, and now all he is a grifting, mitten-wearing retard that's been in Congress for 43 fucking years in elected office and refuses to leave as he changes his number one quotable line from we need to get rid of the millionaires to we need to get rid of the billionaires because he's now a millionaire.
Amounts of money into these campaigns to protect the establishment candidates. And whether we can overcome that, that remains to be seen. But in Michigan right now, the super PACs, billionaire super PACs, spending $50 million.
Like Margaret has to sit here and listen to both of these human beings. She has to interview Kennedy and get like a back and forth with a human being. And then she has to interview this fucking cyborg alien fuck that just grifts for the party for 25 minutes.
Well, you were an early supporter in Maine of Graham Plattner. You helped him rise. Do you regret not acting earlier to call for him to drop out, given the warning signs? Would that have given you a leg up here?
No, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything until after Jake Tapper had that interview with that lady from 30 years ago and speculated that she kept her front door open. I wasn't worried about the Nazi tattoo or the multiple sexual assault allegations or the fucking abuse or the drinking or the beating people. Hey, the fucking new guy, he's throwing water bottles at women and Donald Trump is saying it on a national stage. But yeah, you know, I just waited until he decided that he wasn't going to fund AIPAC anymore. And then I said, actually, I don't like him anymore.
With Jackson?
You fucking chill, Bernie.
When we heard the serious allegations made against them, I wanted to get on the phone. I wanted to talk to him. I did. I asked, along with virtually all his supporters, that he should get out of the race. And
oh, you asked him to? Well, I'm so glad that you asked him to. Can you just die now, please? Like, I've never seen a more useless human being in my life. So they used this man to call up fucking Graham Plattner and demand that he leave. But then when Bernie is asked, why didn't you, publicly, say no to the Nazi tattoo, no to the communism, no to the abusing women, no to the drunkenness? Why did you do none of that? He goes, oh, well, Hillary Clinton had me call up this guy and be a little cuck bitch for her. And me and Obama together have fucking made sure that AIPAC is all good and dandy. We got our Troy Jackson guy here now. He only throws water bottles at women and gives them black eyes. He doesn't potentially rape them 30 years ago. Good job. Good job.
You are confident that with your endorsements, these other candidates have been fully vetted?
Oh, my God. Because here's the thing. Margaret knew the question to ask there. Because the question they've been asking before is, why wasn't he vetted? And their response has always been, well, we vetted him, but we didn't know and that didn't come up. And then when Democratic institutions are asked, why wasn't he vetted? They go, well, it's an open primary and we don't vet any of our candidates. Now Margaret's saying, hey, you know how you had a rapist, Nazi tattooed, communist running for this seat? Did you vet the guy next?
I think, there are hundreds of candidates. I don't know who has been quote unquote fully.
You just said you were best friends with the guy. You said you've known Troy Jackson for years. She asked you if you have vetted him, the elected fucking official. It's not a hard question.
Well, you just mentioned two of them.
All I know is the candidates.
Well, you just mentioned two of them. He goes, there's hundreds of candidates. There's no way to vet them all. Well, you just mentioned two of them, and you mentioned the one that fucking won. Boom! 5 gift memberships from Mr. Taco Bell. We got some Venezuelans coming back. Howler coming back with the gift membership. Hey, yo, haven't seen you in a while, Howler. Thank you again, Taco Bell Wi-Fi, for the 5 gift subscriptions. Remember, guys, again, you can become a member, $4 a month. You start off as a North Korean, you become a Venezuelan, then a Cuban, eventually an American citizen, and after a year, you become an Israeli, which is, basically an American. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. No news is news. Thank you, Taco Bell Wi-Fi. Appreciate you. Let's get back to it. I'm gonna. Taco Bell Wi-Fi calming me down because I'm gonna choke Bernie out through the screen. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. There's hundreds of people to vet. You literally said you were best friends with the guy.
And at a time when so many people are discouraged, deeply discouraged, whether you're Republicans,
avoid the question
about not only a rigged.
Oh, Taco Bell Wi-Fi VIP member for a month. Appreciate you, my guy.
Corrupt
you the best.
Campaign finance system in which billionaires are buying elections.
Woo!
I think the candidates that I and other progressives are supporting are generating enormous grassroots excitement and
support.
enthusiasm. As you indicated, I was in Michigan, Minnesota.
Yeah.
We had large rallies for El Sayed and Peggy Flanagan.
There is, as you know, though, concern within Democratic circles that these inter-party primary fights are draining resources and sort of, pulling away from what should be a unified message.
Facts, and also draining resources, and he's sitting there laughing. He's part of this Hillary Clinton machine. It's like they have 1.1 billion to the 3.5 in excess funds that the RNC has right now. They owe 200 million in back dues as a party. She's now asking, what are you doing when you're wasting all this money getting rid of candidates and having Jake Tapper talk to victims of rape from 30 years ago to deplatform people that have 500,000 subscribers on Instagram because you want to replace them with a man who throws water bottles at women and gives them a black eye? What the fuck was the difference? What are we doing?
Rahm Emanuel wrote in the Wall Street Journal, the Bernie bros could spoil Democrats' midterms. He said the DSA and others are saddling the party with nominees who, as he put it, wildly unpopular positions will protect Republicans from having to pay the price of Donald Trump's corruption. He said it was the socialists who led the charge to defund the police, open borders, abolish prisons. He's saying those are losing messages that are going to hurt the party overall. How do you respond?
That is what Rahm Emanuel is saying, who no doubt has the support.
Again, like no answer. And what's he trying to do? He's basically trying to insinuate that he, Bernie Sanders, the most Jewish-looking man in the world, is not a part of the AIPAC overlord Jewish Israel bullshit of the Democratic Party, and that somehow he's separate from Rahm Emanuel. You're the same thing. You're both Jews in upper echelon society in the Democratic Party. What are you talking about?
Millions of working.
Well, I expect that from Rahm Emanuel, but I'm Bernie Sanders. I'm a different type of Jew. I'm in a different state.
People, look, this is an argument. There's no debate. There is a strong division within the Democratic Party. You have an establishment like Rahm Emanuel, who are dependent on billionaire campaign contributors and want to maintain the status quo.
Nick is just another grifting nut like Candace Owens. I would say less so. He's very much less so than... I would say that Nick Fuentes and Andrew Callaghan are probably the realest ones out there. I would say that Sean Ryan and Tucker Carlson are below it because they're still grifting for a job. Candace Owens is Jerry Springer levels, man. Bro, bring a bond. Once they finally arrest Tyler Robinson and put him in prison, can we just have a public fucking shame trial of Candace Owens? Can we just sit her in a seat and live on court TV, we're going to shame you like Amber Heard?
Then you have a
What was it you were saying about the footage, Candace?
Getting these guys nervous is we are
That's what I want to see.
all over this country. It's not only Mamdani in New York City. It is in New Jersey. It's in Ohio. It's in Colorado. People are sick and tired of the Rahm Emanuels and the...
They're sick of you. You are the Rahm Emanuels. You're the same thing. You just canceled the candidate.
Democratic establishment.
And then you said that the person replaced him is a really good friend of yours, but then when asked if you are sure that you vetted him, you said there's hundreds of candidates and you could never know if you vetted him or not. I thought you were friends with him.
And the Republican establishment, they are asking simple questions, Margaret. Why in God's name are we the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Pretty simple question.
Healthcare. You know what the grift is, then, guys. They're not going to give you anything but that.
Why do we have an economy in which
you might not have a job. You might not have a job. The government might take your ability to actually have a private or secular business. You might be swallowed up by AI and every single monopoly under the sun in America. But, under a unified socialist Democratic Party, at least you get free health care. The free health care I don't fucking have. As a healthy 35-year-old adult, gee golly, please give me the fucking free health care.
There's more wealth in the bottom half of American society.
AOC and Bernie Sanders and their fucking health care initiative.
In the history of the world, our kids will likely have a lower standard of living.
Give me fucking payment rent.
in their purse. The
Fuck
American
off the
people are
healthcare.
tired of a rigged economy, a corrupt campaign.
Ain't nobody
finances.
over the age
They
of
want real
fucking-
change. They don't want Rahm Emanuel and the establishment maintaining the
Under
status
the age of
quo.
60 wanting the
But
healthcare?
in the meantime, and I hear you on the message that you think is resonating on the, you know, the tactical planning here. Do you think in the state of Michigan that you were just talking
Tyler
about
did in
with
their shit ton of evidence.
Abdul El
Facts.
Sayed?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I want Candace Owens to have to fucking. I would like that trial. I would like that trial. Read what I said, Alex. It's a doozy. What did you just say? Did you say something? Governor Waltz is giving tax dollars for dolls with removable parts for 4 to 10-year-old schools. Yeah, I mean, he's literally accepting any left-wing cause.
He's a public health official.
That's how you end up with those
He's a
kind of things.
populist. But he's running against a moderate,
tampon
Haley
Tim.
Stevens. Do you really
Staying
think
true
that
to
in a
his
state
name.
like Michigan, it's going to be a progressive Democrat who could beat a Republican in November? This was a state Trump narrowly.
Now remember, we're on fucking CBS right now, and they're calling the Muslim from Michigan, who a progressive. He's the progressive candidate. But meanwhile, John Ossoff, also a progressive candidate. What's John Ossoff's message from the Democratic Party? Give me $77 million and I will condemn neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes every single day of this election.
Won.
If you're in Georgia, you need to worry about neo-Nazis if you're a Democrat. If you're in Michigan, then you're against AIPAC and you're voting for the Muslim.
Absolutely.
Don't get confused, guys.
Michigan, Minnesota, Vermont, or any place else in this country. The point I'm trying to make.
How about Georgia? In Georgia, you need to get rid of the Nazis if you're a Democrat.
Margaret, and the polling indicates this.
But if you're in Michigan, you're against the AIPAC.
People are sick and tired of the status quo.
We're sick and tired of you. You're right. The status quo. The status quo. 43 years in elected office. Bernie Sanders. January of 1991. We're tired of your status quo.
Yes.
We are the richest country in the history of the world.
And Margaret's on the same side as me. Margaret's like, I just talked to Kennedy and that was great, but you're sitting here saying that everybody's tired of the status quo, and I get that. Yes, we all are tired of your bullshit. Could you please leave?
Standard of living for all of our people, not massive income and wealth inequality. And by the way, we should not be continuing to get involved in genocidal wars with Israel in Gaza, or getting involved in the destruction of Lebanon. People want change in foreign policy and in domestic policy. The status quo is not working.
I already know what they're going to do if they get in. They're going to get in, and the only thing they're going to give you is free health care. They're going to make everything worse. They're going to continue the war because, again, all these people are still the AIPAC lobby. That's why they got rid of Graham Plattner. They're all on the same fucking team still. And because they won on the grift of going against Israel and against the war, they're going to say every single day for 2 years, there's nothing we can do. The executive branch is still fighting this war. He's a lame duck president. He's a lame duck president. He's a lame duck president. And they're going to do nothing to change the policies going in support of Israel. Because these people are doing the same grift in reverse.
For Republicans who are looking at this, they're saying that's great. Is Bernie going to tell his supporters not to show up, for example, if Haley Stevens wins out in Michigan? Or will you say, in the end, the Democrats have to unify?
Margaret, the Republicans, maybe it's the Republican establishment, maybe it's the billionaires who own.
Republican establishment, the billionaires, you, 43 years, you, sir.
The Republican Party. Your working class Republicans are not going to say that. They can't afford to pay for health care. They can't afford to send their kids to college. They can't afford decent retirements. And more than a few of them, by the way, will be voting for Peggy Flanagan in Minnesota. And
right, but what do you think that we're after if we can't afford these things? That we want health care? That everything will be resolved when we get free health care from the government? Because you're not saying you're going to subsidize rent. You're not saying you're getting rid of property taxes. You're not saying no tax on tips. You're not saying no state income tax. You're not saying we're going to leverage the inflation. You're not saying that we're going to have state-run grocery stores and we're going to give everyone free eggs. You're saying healthcare with AOC and every other commie Democrat. and you're saying, we'll get you out of the war. And we know you can't get us out of the war. So for 2 years, you're going to say Donald Trump's a lame duck president, and we're going to get you free health care, and that's going to make your life better, even though shit keeps going up.
Abdul in Michigan.
I still say it, and I'm saying it again, everybody. 100 days from the midterms now. The midterms are different than general elections. No one's telling you to go in there with team politics. You walk in the voting booth as an American citizen and you vote for only names that you do not recognize. Why? Because those names do not have money to embed the names that you remember into your brain. If they're not giving you advertisement, if they're not telling you it's a danger and you need to vote for them, they're the safe candidate. They're the one you need to vote for. Vote all third parties. Vote against all establishment and all incumbent fucking elections. What I hope to see on November 3rd, 2026, is every single incumbent losing. And that is what I saw in April in Texas, and that is what I saw in New York and Michigan and Florida in May. And I'm hoping to God that the media just doesn't know what to do, and they keep saying, well, it's because he turned against Trump that he lost his primary. Well, it's because he's a socialist that he lost his primary. I really hope that it is what I think it is, which is fucking the monkey Al Yoker Sharpton guy or whatever. He's out. He lost his primary. Dan Crenshaw lost his primary. Cassidy lost his primary. The Texas senator lost his primary and is going with Ken Paxton. Everyone lost their primary that's an incumbent that really had a competitive race. And hopefully every incumbent senator, both fucking Democrat and Republican, loses in November. It is time for season 2. It is time to remove every single one of these people. This guy has been here for 43 years. And they're all scared because if you notice, the people that are lobbying and campaigning for the Democrats or the Republicans are the ones that don't have to go up for election in November. He went up for election 2 years ago, so he's still got 4 more years in his seat. So Bernie can stand up here and no matter what he says, no matter who he's turning off, he's safe. But you want to know what's funny? No one that's an incumbent on both the left or the right is going on any Sunday news program if they are running in the midterm. Because they are being told by their party right now, it's too fucking risky. And it's not risky because you're going against Trump. And it's not risky because you might look like a communist. It's risky because you are the oligarchs that we're getting rid of.
You talked about the cost of living. When we look at polling, it's healthcare costs that are the public's top economic worry, according to KFF. Out in Vermont, you've got the most expensive ACA premiums in the entire country. I'm hearing from Republican senators now that they want to make changes to health care too. Your chair on the health committee, you have been championing change. Why aren't we seeing any traction in Congress if this is the number one issue? Why can't you guys work on a bipartisan basis here?
Margaret, that is a great, great question. And I have to tell you, the answer has everything to do with money and politics. That the function of the current healthcare system is not to do what other countries.
Wait, don't go into the healthcare system, Bernie. You just said the quiet part out loud. It has everything to do with politics, right? Because you are running right now for 100 days on we can give you free healthcare. And why are you running on that? Because you know you can actually get that. But you're attaching yourself to an identity that you aren't. You're a New York Jew. And you're attaching yourself to an identity of a Palestinian. I'm going to get rid of Israel. I'm going to stop all the lobbying. I'm going to end AIPAC. I'm going to revolutionize America. We're all going to be free across the planet. All this bullshit. But AOC and Bernie and every last one of these communists, the only thing they're promising in the midterms is free healthcare. Because they know at the end of the day, they're already getting rid of Cassidy. He already got primaried in Louisiana. They're not going to have very many Republicans left that are part of the pharmaceutical lobby. And that regardless of whether they win or lose the House in fucking November, come January, the next House Congress will pass a health care bill to give universal health care. Because it's a sinking fucking hole where they're just putting a bunch of money into fucking Medicare and Medicaid. They have to do what every other country does. But they're setting it up on this whole like freedom, communism, we're going to fucking help you out, you're going to not have to pay your bills, blah, blah, blah. But the only thing that they're actually promising is healthcare, which is something that none of us give a fuck about. I'd rather have free eggs for a week, once every 4 years. One free carton of eggs from the government every 4 years would give me more satisfaction than you continually telling me I get free health care when I haven't had health care since I was 20 fucking 4.
Health care to all of our people.
And I've been fine. I've been fine.
The American healthcare system is to make billions of dollars.
All it is it's saying like you need health care. All it's saying is you, the person that isn't going to the doctor, that isn't feeding into the doctorial American medical system, we need to get you in a hospital every fucking 6 months for a checkup, whether we're paying for it as a government or not. Because if people don't start going to the doctor every day, maybe they'll start to realize they don't need the fucking doctor every day.
In profits for the insurance companies and the drug companies, and they are spending huge amounts in campaign contributions to make sure that that happens. So when we talk about a political revolution, when we talk about a grassroots movement, one of the things we're talking about is we have got to join every other major country through a Medicare for all.
See? When we're talking about revolution, we're talking about health care. No, motherfucker, we're talking about you're gone. Every one of you motherfucking kings and queens, you're gone. You had a nice 70-year run. But remember that constitutional amendment that says only 2 terms for a president was put in place in the 50s by who? Congress, by you. And now you and Chuck Grassley, the people that were shaking hands with Eisenhower in the 50s, are still sitting here telling me about revolution of health care.
Single payer program.
Is there a single payer program in this country that you think actually works?
You can see it on her face. She is way more pissed at him than she was at fucking Kennedy. It's like, can you just answer one fucking question, my guy?
Vermont struggled with it when your state tried it. Is there a model for what you're talking about?
No, Vermont, no, there is not.
Is there a model that we can look at? No, there's not.
But 50 miles north of where I am talking to you right now.
Are you going to really point to the Canadian healthcare system? Don't do it. Margaret's going to bury you if she has any common sense. Don't do it, my guy.
Spending half as much per capita.
God damn it, he's doing it.
And somehow or another, they managed to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child in that country. You go to the hospital for a month, you come out.
Oh, Margaret, please save us.
Is it a perfect system? No. But we are.
Is it a perfect? He's trying to protect himself because he knows Margaret's going to come back. You want to do Canada's health care? You think that's the example how we do this?
Your country.
The grand revolution we need, everybody. A Canadian healthcare system in America. That's the revolution we want. When these anti-Trumpers that are anti-Israel, that are speaking their anti-Semitism out and getting all their votes for the Muslims, what they're really after is Canadian health care.
Does not guarantee health care to all people. That is what we've got to do.
You are the ranking member on the Health Committee.
She's
the
just
CDC has been without a Senate-confirmed leader now for nearly 11 months. The FDA doesn't have a chief going on 2 months now. There's no Surgeon General. Under questioning, Dr.
New York Jew accent, exactly. It's like, but he's also being like, I'm here for the Palestinians. It's like, stop it. No, you're here for healthcare. You're here for healthcare because you're a grifting fucking communist.
Trump's nominee was repeatedly asked if she would resist political pressure. I know her answers did not win your vote. But do you think that she even has enough support to make it out of committee and ultimately to get confirmed?
Look, I liked her personally. I mean, she has a very strong background in public.
Okay, wait. So you like her personally, but you're not going to vote for her. Remember, guys, this is what this is. It's an institution of approval. So it's supposed to be that the White House and the president choose a person. That person goes in front of Congress to make sure that they're a good person, They're not somebody insane. And right now, he just acknowledged, I like her as a person. But right now, it's about politics. Right now, I've been here for 43 fucking years. I don't want to give up my seat. Right now, it's about getting rid of that black lady at the CDC and making sure we have a lot more diarrhea lettuce until November.
Public health in the military. She's an attorney as well. Very impressive resume.
Okay? And your job is to decide whether she's good enough for the job. You just told us she's good enough for the job.
But when you're dealing with the Health and Human Services Department agency, the issue is whether people will stand up to Bobby Kennedy, Secretary Kennedy, and his.
She's smart. She's capable. She's a lawyer. I wouldn't say that she wouldn't do a good job. I'm not going to vote for her because she's not going to inherently just veto anything that Bobby Kennedy does. And Bobby Kennedy is an independent, walking, talking retard. My God. 10 years later, guys. 10 years later, full retard from Mr. fucking
Conspiracy theories
Sanders
regarding
here.
vaccines, et cetera, et cetera. She did not impress me as somebody who, in fact.
Oh, she didn't impress you as somebody that would blanketly, as the head of the CDC, just fight the White House for you? Yeah, I don't think that was what you wanted her to do. Isn't the point that she's supposed to be a qualified candidate that can do the job? And you just said she could do all that. Now the job's not about the job's about just screaming at Trump? Say the quiet part out loud. Fucking Bernie Sanders here, guys.
I don't know that she will or not. She may gain Republican support. I won't vote for her.
You do have bipartisan support.
I really like her. She's a great lawyer. I think she would do a good job, but she won't blanketly scream at RFK every day. So I won't be voting for her.
In the Maha caucus for a bill to require warning labels for ultra-processed foods and to try to restrict marketing to kids. Doesn't the FDA kind of already do that with all the disclosures on packaging that tell you the ingredients? I mean,
nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough.
Well, you can tell who owns CBS. CBS pushing back on disclosure of trans fats on fucking labels. Yeah, us Americans, we want less labeling. We just want we want less information on our food. CBS doing the good work of American citizens everywhere.
Look, we have a problem, a really serious crisis in this country.
Defending lobbyists from cover letters.
I think 1 out of 5 children in America is obese, and that translates into diabetes, which is, as you know, just a terrible illness impacting our country and very expensive to deal with. We're spending about $400 billion a year dealing with diabetes. So what I want to see, and I think a lot of people want to see, is strong labeling. So if a mom goes to a grocery store and the kid says, hey, I want that Coca-Cola.
Okay, and then you know what's funny about Bernie Sanders? He'll be like, yeah, and I agree with the Republicans. We need more labeling, but also I need to vote for a CDC official that will inherently, no matter what, vote against RFK. I know she's qualified. I think she would do a good job. I'm here to support Republicans' lobby to label things for trans fats and foods. But I also want that CDC official to fight RFK and the trans-labeled fat foods that I support. This is a communist for y'all. There's no fucking backbone. What are you supporting?
Sugar in it, bad stuff. And it's not just Coke. Obviously, it's all these.
Okay, so you support the Republican agenda by RFK to put labels on trans fats. Got it. But then you want the CDC official who you think is qualified enough to vote against RFK's labeling of trans fats on foods. What the fuck are we doing?
Wheaten drinks and all kinds of processed foods. So what we are trying to do is A, have strong labeling, and B, ban TV advertising of junk food to kids.
Well, you do have some Republican support for it. We'll keep an eye on it.
That's what I'm saying. If you have Republican support for it, why are you voting against the CDC official that you just said was good enough? Wild. All right, Mark Kelly, here we go. Meet the Press.
Mark Kelly of Arizona. Senator Kelly, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be on. Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you so much for joining us. I do want to start where I left off with Ambassador Mike Waltz on Iran, of course. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this week that the U.S. is still open to a diplomatic resolution to the war. He also described the president's approach as, quote, a head for an eye. As someone who has flown combat missions during the Gulf War, Senator, do you think that's the right approach?
Well, I think these guys are flailing, and this thing is completely stuck because this president got into this without a strategic goal, despite what Mike Waltz said about that they had a strategic aim in mind. At first, remember, Kristen, this was about regime change. Then it became about nuclear weapons, then about ballistic.
No, it wasn't. Never once were the words regime change ever spoken out loud. So now you're just a fucking talking point.
Missiles, then about the Navy.
Just lying straight to our face.
They are flailing here. And
are you a political commentator or are you a fucking senator? Tell us what the fuck you're going to do.
I mean, the head for the eye thing, I mean, this is, you hear this stuff out of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth.
This is Meet the Press, sir. MSNBC is later tonight. Enough with the grifting, answer the question.
You know, running around on a stage about maximum lethality and killing people and setting records with the number of targets.
We're just going to grift today. All right, cool.
I mean, when you were talking to him about munitions, of course we've used a lot of munitions. We hit a lot of targets, 14,000 as of the last time I heard Pete Hegseth talk about this. So this thing has been a disaster, and it's been a disaster for the American people. In a time when they couldn't afford their lives, this president gets us into this war, and costs then continue to skyrocket. The price of gas, $4.50 a gallon here in Arizona, over $4 a gallon across the country. People can't afford groceries and rent. I mean, this thing has been a disaster. They do not know what to do.
Senator Kelly, I want to drill down with you on
Remember what I said earlier. He's not up for re-election, guys. He's a safe target. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. They can come out here and they can grift, and they can do the same exact thing that Kamala Harris did, which is only going to get them to lose because we're past this. But they're only putting DNC is only putting people up on the Sunday news programs that are not a risk of losing their election.
That point.
Not anybody that's actually running in November for re-election is actually speaking to anybody. They're having the party defend them with the people that are still there. Why? Because this is a all-out fucking war, people. They are scared shitless that we're going to fucking catch on. That we're not going to all go into the booth in November and go, actually, I need lower gas prices, so let's just vote D ticket. Or, actually, I defend Donald Trump and I think Israel should still fight Iran, so I vote Republican ticket. They're scared fucking shitless that we've caught on, and we realize 1954, they rechanged the Constitution, they allowed us only one ruler for fucking 8 years, and then they get to rule for the rest of the world. And there is an election for these fucking oligarchs, and the election's in November. It's a midterm, so they can't grift under the president, and they're probably all going to lose their seats. Because not a single one of them is out here defending their own actions.
Picking and choosing
letting the party do it for them.
To intercept amid an effort to preserve the Pentagon's diminishing supply of weapons. What is your response to that report?
Well, it's pretty obvious to people when you're in a conflict now for 5 months and you're flying, in some cases, hundreds of sorties a day, attacking targets just to drive the numbers up. I mean, Pete Hegseth talked about this a lot. And by the way, the guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's incompetent. He should have.
Why don't you tell us what you're going to do? Because you currently are a senator. It's not like you have a TV show on a news network. You're not Nick Fuentes or Tucker Carlson. You're an actual senator being asked questions on the longest running political show of all time. Tell us what the fuck you want to do with your power.
Never had this job and he should be fired.
Just grifting.
They were all about the numbers. A conflict.
Clearly useless.
He was talking about setting records, going over 10,000 targets, 12,000, 14,000. Most of those targets are hit with multiple weapons. So, of course, I mean, we've expended tens of thousands of weapons. And it takes, as Pete Hegseth said in the committee hearing when I asked him this question, it's going to take years to replenish these. This is by their own making. They're not keeping track.
I'm sorry, not 1954, 1951. I'm sorry. They've been doing it 3 more years than I was aware of. It was ratified in 1951 because they did not want to have to deal and listen to the one party, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and his executive branch. They were like, the executive branch is getting too much power. Let's create a law in 1951 that we can lean on with the Constitution, act like it's been here all 250 years, that says you can't run for president more than twice. And why are they doing that? Because they don't want policymakers in the executive branch dictating the legislation of the legislative branch. They want the legislator to be there always because they're not putting term limits on themselves. They're not saying one for me and one for you. They're saying one for you. Also, anytime we reference it, we're not going to say 1951 we created this. We're going to say, don't you believe in the Constitution? Implying that it's been there the whole fucking time. And then meanwhile, we're going to continue to operate with impunity for ourselves for over 70 years, 77 years to be exact, and never give ourselves term limits.
At this point, this president and the people around him are incompetent.
Given the dwindling munitions, which you're referencing, Secretary Hegseth, as you well know, asked for an additional $67 billion more for the war with Iran. He said it's necessary to sustain military readiness. Will you vote to approve that $67 billion, Senator? Do you see that as necessary?
Kristen, they're also asking for $1.5 trillion for the defense budget.
She asked you if you are going to give them this money, and the answer is yes, but you don't want anybody to hear that. So you're now going to talk about the other money they're asking for? We didn't ask if you're giving them more money. We asked if you were giving them this money. No answer.
Budget this year.
Because he's still giving it to them.
When I got to the
Because again, the communist revolution that the Democrats speak of, it's a very simple, like, constructive thing of taking Medicare and Medicaid and blending them into like a weird capitalist version of like a Canadian healthcare system, because our healthcare system is collapsing both on the left and the right. And all these people are old, and they think the only people that vote are old, so the only thing that anybody gives a fuck about is healthcare. So then they can be like, revolution, AOC, Bernie Sanders, revolution, we're communists, revolution, we're going to save all of you with healthcare, but we're going to still keep giving the executive branch money to blow up Iran. I hate that they keep doing that. I can't believe it. Oh, shucks. Signs another bill.
Just 5.5 years ago, the defense budget was $740 billion. It's more than doubled in 5.5 years. We're now approaching numbers of like what the rest of the world combined spends on defense. I mean, do we really feel that we're that threatened and we need to spend these sums of money for our defense? We've got programs that this administration is going to spend money on that aren't going to work, and things that we don't need. If we had some competent people running this department, you could figure out how do you defend our nation in a way and give the troops what they need within a reasonable budget. What they're asking for is not reasonable.
So just to be very clear, are you a no on approving that $67 billion? You won't approve it?
Hey, I haven't made a final decision yet on that specific vote, right?
I'm just saying, they're asking for a lot more money. I will give them what they want, but I'm just saying they're asking for more money.
But as I said, they're asking for $1.5 trillion. This war was a mistake. He got.
Are you going to give them that too?
Strategic goal.
Because you're going to give them this other one.
Thinking about the consequences to the American people and to our troops. We have 18 killed service members at this point. So I haven't made a final decision on how I'm going to vote on that. But the way they.
Hey, are you going to give them $250 million? I just think it's crazy that they're asking for $1.5 billion. Hey, but again, like, are you going to give them $250 million? I haven't decided yet, but I do think it's crazy they're asking for $1 trillion. Anyone see the pattern here?
Has been a disaster.
Well, and of course, Iran is the backdrop to the midterm elections.
What a
now
doofus.
just 100 days away. I do want to ask you about the midterms on Saturday. Democrats in Maine nominated Troy Jackson to replace scandal-plagued Graham Plattner on the ballot. You said yourself, Senator, the path to winning back the Senate runs through Maine. Do you think that Troy Jackson is the strongest person to unseat Senator Susan Collins?
I think he's a strong candidate, and I think we have an opportunity, and I think Senator Collins has backed this president on all his...
I love YouTube because I really need to hear what uneducated white guys think. Well, lucky for you, we're able to be on YouTube, but, 4 years ago, there were no white guys on YouTube, so I don't even really know what you're talking about.
Stuff, right? Every time it's mattered, and we could have used her vote to really put a check on this president, she stood with Donald Trump. I think we have an opportunity here. Maine's very important. We have other states, Ohio, Alaska, we have an opportunity.
Mr.
Texas,
Clean went through the dryer.
Iowa. Hey, even in South Carolina, right now, Annie Andrews is running a great campaign. So we have an opportunity to win there as well. Florida. So the map, it's tough. We're going to have to work really hard. That's why I've been traveling across the country to all these states, and I'm going to continue to do that until November to make sure we have every opportunity to win back the Senate.
Well, do you think your progressive colleagues like Senator Bernie Sanders, for example, made a mistake by endorsing and standing by Graham Plattner for so long, despite scandal after scandal, given the importance of this seat that you just laid out?
Well, it's pretty obvious that Graham Plattner wasn't vetted well enough. I mean, he was not the right person to do this.
Okay, so do you believe the next guy's vetted? Well, there's 100 candidates. It's not like we can vet them all.
He had a background,
There's one.
That didn't allow him to continue in a race. But that
Have you
doesn't
vetted
matter
the new
at this
guy?
point.
Answer from everyone, no.
What matters is getting...
Because right now, on the New York Post, is a story about the new guy throwing water bottles and giving women black eyes.
Troy Jackson, the resources to...
Have you vetted the new guy? No.
Run a good campaign and get him across the finish line.
Okay, you'll be
show
out on
you
the
all
trail
everything you
with
need to know.
Troy Jackson, can we expect to see you there in Maine with him?
I don't have my entire schedule finished.
He doesn't know. He hasn't been told by his handler yet whether he's going to Maine.
Maine is not yet on my calendar, but I have every intention to work as hard as I can for the races that I think we can win, and that is one of them. I think we can win in Maine. We can win in Alaska, Ohio. So, yeah, I mean, I'm certainly going to consider it.
All right. Well, I want to, speaking of the progressives in your party, ask you about one of the big conversations right now. This week, New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani put out a video where he again referred to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a war criminal and called for him to be arrested. Take a look.
My administration has reviewed every avenue.
Now, okay, is Meet the Press or anybody going to point out that the person that literally was in charge of the International Court literally resigned because of rape allegations? The same thing that brought down Graham Plattner. The man who prosecuted Netanyahu in the International Court, that judge, was raping women or sexually assaulting them or whatever, and left because of it.
Available
Let's not mention that,
under
right?
applicable law to determine whether New York City could execute the International
Come
Criminal
on,
Court's
Nicole.
arrest
Bring it
warrant
up.
if Benjamin
Bring it up,
Netanyahu
Nicole.
came
Come
in.
on.
It is clear that we do not have the independent legal authority to enforce this warrant.
Oh, of course.
Federal
You already fucking knew this when you were running.
government, however, does, and I call on them to join the ICC and execute this warrant.
Do you agree with Mayor Mamdani that Prime Minister Netanyahu is a war criminal who should be arrested?
Ooh, it's kind of hard to answer that because she's not giving him the rest of the information, but we already know the International Court was brought down. The man who made the charge against Netanyahu is a sex criminal. Fact. So what the fuck are we doing now? Now we're going to defend the sex criminal and his International Court against Netanyahu?
Arrested by the federal government?
Hey, I'm not happy with the
He's going to walk around it. I knew he was going to walk around it.
decisions that the
AIPAC
Prime
fag.
Minister of Israel has made through over the last few years. The way they conducted the operations in Gaza, there were a lot of mistakes made. That being said, Israel is an ally of ours. We support the Israeli.
But don't forget, guys, call in Revolution this November. We're getting y'all health care.
People. I'm going to always stand by Israel as a nation. They have an election coming up on October 27th. The best way to resolve this issue with a prime minister that, just like our president, is not doing the job.
There's an ICC warrant out for Netanyahu for starving Palestinians, war criminal. Yeah, the ICC warrant was written by who? A rapist, a known rapist who had to leave the international court. A known rapist who had to leave the international court. Nice anecdote. You're supporting a rapist and his stupid charge against Netanyahu.
They were hired to do.
And even Mark Kelly won't do that.
Ballot box. So that's coming up pretty soon here. And I hope the Israeli people rally around a candidate that'll take Israel in a better direction.
Let me ask you a couple of other questions related to this one. 2028, this week, the DNC Rules Committee voted to make South Carolina, as you know.
The ICC was accused after warrants have been signed. How convenient. No, the ICC said, hey, buddy, you raped women. You need to leave the ICC. And then he was like, all right, I'll leave. I raped women. And the ICC's like, all right, hey, press release. The guy who did the warrant, he raped women, but we kicked him out. This has nothing to do with Israel. It says they did this themselves. They created a warrant against Netanyahu. They had the fucking mayor of New York say that we should do the warrant after Rubio said we should not listen to the ICC. And then the ICC, on their own merit, came out and said, you know that guy that prosecuted Netanyahu? Well, we found out he's a dirty rapist, and we decided to get rid of him. How the fuck does any of this have to do with convenience?
The first state to vote in the Democratic presidential primary in 2028. Do you believe that was the right move? Should South Carolina be the first state to vote in 2028?
Ooh, nice question.
I don't get a vote.
Again, just a fucking Weasley bullshit. Because this guy is clearly leaning towards the Nevada.
On this is for the DNC, the members of the DNC, to decide which state.
I don't get to vote on this. So first, he's a political pundit, not a senator. He's going to tell us everything, all his feelings. And then they ask him if he's going to support Israel and give them a bunch of funding to the military. And he just goes, I can't believe they're asking for more money. And now the guy is being asked, hey, do you think that South Carolina, that, the black area instead of the Mexican area, South Carolina over Nevada, how's the DNC? You think you support that? I don't get a vote in that. Can this guy answer one fucking question? He's actually worse than Bernie Sanders.
Comes first. When you look at the 5 states they put up front, I think that represents
the
Democratic Party across the country. And South Carolina has always been a state that's been a critical component of this, not just the state. Congressman Jim Clyburn has been critical to this. We also have opportunities to win elections, not only the Senate race with Annie Andrews, but Nancy LaCour, who's a veteran, who has an opportunity here to win a critical House seat. So I'm not going to weigh in on what the order should be because I don't get a vote there. But South Carolina has always been an important part of the discussion.
All right, let me ask you about something you do have a vote in. Of course, a lot of buzz about whether you are going to run for president in 2028. This week, your wife, former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, was asked if you should run. She said, go for it. You've been very open that you're seriously considering it. Senator, what would get you to a yes that you will run in 2028?
Money from Israel.
Yeah, I think we got to see, what are the issues.
It just doesn't answer the question again. You're ready, sir. Democratic nominee, get him signed up.
That we're facing after we get on the other side of November here. It's really critical that Democrats win back the House and the Senate and put a check on a president who is so corrupt. There's nothing to compare him to. I mean, he spends most of his time trying to figure out how to enrich himself and his family members and his friends. It is.
I mean, if you were watching before, Michael, Senator Kennedy can answer a straight question.
Corruption that we've never seen.
There's a reason that Senator Kennedy's interview was 8 minutes and that Sanders was 17, Netanyahu's was 18, and fucking Mark Kelly is 12 minutes. 8 minutes with fucking Kennedy because he actually answered your questions. Nothing to fucking mess around with.
Before, and it's hurting the American people. People can't afford their lives. So this is a discussion I'm going to continue to have with my family, but we've got plenty of time.
All right, Senator Mark Kelly, thank you so very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
We thank you for watching,
guys,
and remember, stay.
We got Mr. Fetterman now.
Good evening. Hope you're having a great Saturday night. Welcome back to My View. Well, we heard rumblings back in 2016. The squad emerged in 2018. Their momentum built under a weak administration in 2020. And now, as we approach the 2026 midterms, the far left flank of the Democrat Party appears louder than ever. Their socialist policies threaten the foundation of America's economy, public safety, and common sense. And yet, the liberal embrace of the radical, the controversial, and the anti-establishment has become the center of the midterm conversation. It's up to Republicans to remind voters about the value of working hard, not endless handouts. The benefit of tax cuts instead of tax hikes. The importance of defending the Western way of life, both here in America and abroad. And it's up to moderate Democrats to either reject this hostile takeover or make the bold move to align with those who are actually preserving America's capitalist democracy for the next generation. It's a decision Senator John Fetterman is considering. And we sat down in Washington this week to talk about it. Thank you so much, Senator. Great to have you back on the show.
Well, thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, listen, you are such a voice of common sense. And one of the things you've been very vocal about are the concerns you have for this kind of radical faction that has kind of seeped into the Democrat Party. You've actually called out some of your colleagues for their support of folks like El Said in Michigan, Chevalier in New York. If you were speaking...
and also P. Hustle.
Yeah.
That was the big one. The guy in Maine.
Right.
You know, like someone like Sanders. Sanders really made his possible to win. And now he promoted him. And then after those terrible things start to emerge, defended that, pushed for, and now dismissed that. And then when it exploded, I've never heard him just say, well, maybe I should just sit this out.
Yeah, Graham
and now
Wagner,
he is going to, well, there he's on that screen, he's going to Michigan. Now they're going to try to elect someone that's been incredibly anti-Israel and essentially anti-American in a way. So socialism, you know, that should be the unacceptable view, you know, in the Democratic Party. We all should be capitalists, and we should all agree that supporting Israel, but overall, but for me, calling them out, there's also been kind of like a double standard. People, whether it's Sanders or other people, they're allowed to criticize Democrats, and they can even create mass chaos, like in the Maine race and other thing. But when I call out the extreme ones, then that's when I get the criticism, and I get that. What's more controversial, you know, like, why are you going on Fox? Or why are you going to support Israel? Like, that shouldn't be controversial. I'm going to have a conversation with anyone that's going to play it straight as you and Fox has. But now,
well, I appreciate that. Thank you. And let me ask you about that. You just brought up Israel, and we saw recently that a majority of the Democratic caucus voted to end billions of dollars of aid to Israel. You were not one of those votes to end the aid, of course. Do you anticipate kind of this anti-Israel wing of the party to continue to grow as we get closer to the midterm elections? And do you think as well that the rise of these socialist-style candidates who are very openly anti-Israel
Damn! JD Vance coming away with it. 60% of the vote. We're going to go into our third hour now, guys. Stay with us. Stay tuned. Double tap, hit that like button, hit subscribe. We are live with the news at least 7 days a week. And now we're going into our third hour of our poll. And this is when the third parties come out. Are we ready for the third party this hour? Who will be president in 2028. 835 days until election. We are also 100 days away from the midterms. Vance still in the lead with 64 wins. Then we got Mr. Gavin Newsom with 19 wins. And our third party this hour is none other than Dana White. Is it Dana White? Is it JD Vance? Or is it Gavin Newsom? Get your vote in now. The third hour of our show starts now. Back to Mr. Fetterman.
From the Jewish state, or do you think that they are sort of the product of all of this?
Oh, that's been well underway. That's been well underway for a while. I mean, 2 years ago, I've said that actually it was July of 24. I was the only Democrat in my caucus that would interact and stand with the Prime Minister when he gave that joint address. And now I've said that I'm willing to be the last man standing, in the caucus to stand through Israel. And I don't think anybody realized how extreme it would go, that the Gaza war would continue. And then last year, I was the only Democrat that supported the Midnight Hammer.
Right.
And I think that's a fantastic thing, to bomb their nuclear facilities. And if they were left alone, they could have built a nuclear bomb by now. So that's isolated me. But I don't know why, because that every Democrat that I'm aware of said Iran can't ever acquire a nuclear bomb. That's not an extreme view. Loving socialism that's an extreme view. Or if you think now you have personalities like Hassan Piker, where he shows up and does Democrat events in his Mao pajamas, and he's praising people like Mao, who is responsible for the death of 40 million Chinese, and more Democrats are embracing him.
You seem to be slightly alone in a lot of these views when it comes to your party, and you've actually threatened, Senator, to leave the Democratic Party if it continues to move further and further away from Israel. And you have Republicans like Senate Majority Leader John Thune ready to welcome you with open arms. Is this something you are still actually considering? And how long do you actually give your fellow Democrats to change their tune?
No, I very much like Leader Thune on a personal level. And it's not like we haven't had a conversation, to be very clear. But, overall, yes, it is isolating. And now I hope there's not going to be another shutdown. Now, that isolated myself in the caucus, refused to shut our government down. We used to be the Democratic Party that would always refuse to shut our government down. I don't care what party's behind it. I'm always going to call it out, and it's the wrong thing. And if you do, the only one that loses is America, the government workers, and our reputation.
Well, I will say on behalf of many Republicans out there, I think we would love to have you as part of the Republican Party. I'm just throwing it out there, Senator.
I don't know if they would want me or not, but my whole families are Republican, and I think they love me.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Maybe my dad's watching it. But overall, my criticism directed is at the extreme, and in my view, indefensible kinds of views, things. People that are winning the primaries, they are almost always anti-Israel and then anti-American, and they've been forced to delete all the outlandish things that they've said there. And then someone like Mamdani, could you imagine if I
Mamdani? I like that. The Mamdani. Somebody like Mamdani.
I don't like or disagree with. If you come to Pennsylvania, I'm going to, have you arrested. Or claim that, I am able to say you're not welcome in Pennsylvania. It's, I've never said or done something outlandish, but he's done that. And then places like the New York Times have normalized that and not really say that's completely inappropriate, and stay in your lane, Chief. You're just a mayor. You're not in a position to talk about those things.
Now we see him backtrack on that quite a bit. I want to get to this, though. You've been both supportive of the strikes on Iran as well as voter ID. These are both hot-button topics, Senator, amongst our legislators. What do you hear from your constituents on both of those points?
I mean, I go everywhere. I do a lot of the shopping, and people will approach me, and it's almost uniformly very positive or appreciate that thing. And I can't really fully understand why. I mean, I've seen polling where why I'm so popular with Republicans. I don't really understand that, but I'm always going to treat both sides with respect, and we can agree on what we can, or we're going to disagree in a respectful way. And I'm not going to call people like you're a Nazi or you're a fascist or you're trying to destroy our democracy and use those things. So I call out what's unacceptable for me, whatever that party is. But I do think it's the responsibility for members of the party to police their own ranks.
Well, you do an incredible job at that, and we always appreciate you coming on with us, telling it like it is, and thank you for spending time with us today, Senator. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you for having me back, Laura.
You got it.
The same.
And joining me now.
What's funny is it's the same institution. Like Fox News was literally like lobbying against him and like trying to support Dr. Oz and being like, this mental retard is going to get elected, and now he's elected, and they're like, you're the greatest.
U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz.
Right.
Ambassador Waltz, welcome back.
Ambassador to the United Nations.
Good to be with you.
It's great to have you here in person. I do, of course, want to start off by talking about Iran. The U.S. has been conducting nightly raids against Iran for the past 2 weeks, really. In recent days, the president said the U.S. was, quote, locked and loaded, and he was considering a massive strike, he said. Then on Friday and Saturday, no strikes were reported in Iran. Has the president decided against escalation for now, Ambassador?
I wouldn't go that far at all. The president is keeping all options on the table. I've spoken with the negotiators. I've spoken with Secretary Hegseth. What the president is doing right now, as we've seen all along, is giving some talks some space. Talks are ongoing. They're happening at every level, from the more technical aspect of it all the way to the highest levels, of course, within both the Iranian government and the U.S. government. What we are constantly seeing, though, is on the Iranian regime side, they are divided. There is internal fighting. Some are seeking the guidance of the supreme leader. Others want to move into a different direction. And that makes it hugely challenging from a diplomatic standpoint, but to get to some reasonable resolution here.
So are strikes effectively halted for the next several days, or can we expect to see some strikes tonight, tomorrow, in the coming days?
Well, I would take the president very seriously if I was the Iranian regime. The U.S. military is locked and loaded. In fact, more assets have gone into the region. And as we've seen, we have focused on those assets that have illegally struck civilian shipping. I mean, look, we have to take a step back here. I mean, this is like the Somali pirates with cruise missiles. I mean, they are desperate in the sense that now we're attacking ships from Panama, from Cyprus, from Singapore. A number of civilian mariners have been killed. And at the end of the day, the president has decided, and he is going to see this through, that the Iranian regime cannot and will not have a nuclear weapon, but also they cannot illegally, in this kind of terrorist fashion, hold the rest of the world's economies hostage.
You raise assets. I want to ask you about the assets. NBC News is reporting the Pentagon is actually rationing some defense weaponry amid diminishing supplies. Is America backing away from a larger military attack because its military stockpile has been depleted?
Well, look, we have to take a step back here in that a lot of stockpiles were depleted, not only from what we gave Ukraine over the last however many years, 4 or 5 years, and the administration inherited, the Secretary Hegseth inherited a depleted situation from not only Ukraine, but also the ongoing fight with the Houthis under the Biden administration and a depleted military under the Biden administration. So they have decided, one, they're going to new types of munitions, cheaper munitions, new technologies, but also with these new defense budgets, rebuilding our great military. However,
but you acknowledge
I want to be clear.
No, do you acknowledge they're depleted, though, at this moment?
I want to be crystal clear. The U.S. military, and I've verified this every which way, has everything that
Just a quick update, guys, on President Trump. So yesterday at like 9:30, he did a tea time golf. And then it's just been reported now that at 9:07, he left the White House en route to the Trump National Golf Course. 9:31, he did his second round of golf this weekend.
Needs to conduct this campaign
whatever that means,
as effectively as it
man
needs to
his
be.
thinking time.
And I have to tell you, the people that are leaking this nonsense deserve to be in jail.
Well, let me ask you, because you're saying they deserve to be in jail. Is that something the administration's going to pursue, putting people in jail?
Well, we have a number of leak investigations going on. I'll defer that to the Department of Justice. But here's the point. The point is the U.S. military has conducted a phenomenally successful campaign. We have never, as you know, I'm a veteran by background. We have never maintained this kind of air superiority, sea superiority, with unfettered access over Iran right now.
Mr. Ambassador, a lot of people are very interested in the timeline of this because President Trump had initially said that this conflict would last for a matter of weeks, 5 to 6 weeks. He said, we are now at the 5-month mark. Will this war be over by the new year?
Well, first, this war has been going on for 47 years.
Okay, wait. So is the war going on for 47 years, or was it an excursion and it's a separate second excursion? Because
these attacks on Americans,
not in this,
of course, not
capacity.
necessarily this intensity, but at some level, Iran has been at war with the United States. Heck, I was just looking at old video of under the Obama and then the Biden administration when they had, the Obama administration when they had sailors on their knees when they seized one of our boats and captured them. So look, we have to take a step back from a diplomatic standpoint. And of course, I'm here as the UN ambassador. The talks with Lebanon are progressing in a way that's historic. Syria is moving in the right direction. We just had the Iraqi foreign minister, not only here in the Oval Office, but then he goes to Houston and signs new oil deals. Our Gulf Arabs have never been more aligned with us. Iran is diplomatically isolated, economically isolated, and militarily devastated. They've never been so weak, and we're negotiating from a position of strength.
But very quickly, do you anticipate this conflict will be concluded by the new year?
Oh, I'm not going to put some kind of timeline on it. The president has all options on the table, and he is exercising both diplomatic, economic, and military to achieve a very clear strategic aim. And that's what's different. The wars of my generation, we had policy drift. Here, the president is very focused.
This was an incredibly somber week, as you know, for the country. 4 U.S. service members were killed in Iranian attacks. President Trump, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, others attended the dignified transfer at Dover Air Force Base on Wednesday. Should the country brace for more American lives to be lost in this conflict, Mr. Ambassador?
Every man and woman who signs up, as I have and so many others, to go serve knows of that eventual possibility. And my heart breaks for those families receiving the worst news of their lives, as does the president, all the way down the chain of command. Where I am thankful as a veteran is that we finally have a president who has said enough is enough. The Iranian regime has killed thousands of American soldiers, has threatened our neighbors, has threatened the region, and threatened the United States, and no more. And if they are willing to do this, if they were willing to build a massive conventional shield, which is what they were trying to do, you mentioned the issue of munitions and interceptors. Imagine if the president had just let this go like all of his predecessors had, and years from now they had tens, if not hundreds of thousands of these rockets and drones, and then
but after 47 years, they didn't have them.
Breakout, which is what we know their plan was. But in terms of casualties, our heart breaks for them. But we're not going to take this low-level warfare, whether it's taking our people hostage as they've done, or attacking civilian shipping, or attacking our neighbors, or attacking U.S. assets around the world. Enough is enough.
Just a moment ago, you mentioned Saudi Arabia, so I do want to ask you about this deal with Saudi Arabia. The U.S. signed this deal with Saudi Arabia this week. It would effectively support creating a civilian nuclear program for the Saudis. Then, less than 24 hours after the deal was announced, the president insisted the agreement would only go through if Saudi agreed to sign the Abraham Accords, something that Saudi Arabia has rejected. What is the status of the deal? Is it going forward?
Well, we've been in discussion with Saudi Arabia on normalization with Israel or entering the Abraham Accords way back into the first Trump.
Don't you love how at first it was they need to sign the Abraham Accords, and now both Netanyahu and the U.S. side are both saying be on the side of Israel, not sign the Abraham Accords? Like,
administration. So that
if they can't sign the Abraham Accords, then they're not on the same side as Israel.
shouldn't.
It's
I don't
really
think that
that
should
easy.
surprise anyone.
But what's the
In
status
terms
of
of the
this
deal,
deal?
but in terms of the deal, I want to be very clear on a couple of things. One, we haven't sold our nuclear technology in terms of small modular reactors, micro reactors, large reactors in many, many decades. President Trump signed an executive order last year revitalizing the nuclear industry. Whether it's the Saudis or others, they could go, as many countries have, to the Russians for nuclear technology, to the Chinese for nuclear technology. Finally, we are reasserting our technology on the world stage. So they had options. They went with us. They're going with American companies, American workers. But there is no enrichment envisioned.
Whole different landscapes are not comparable to Vietnam. I think it's even easier than that. 58,000 people died in Vietnam that were soldiers. We have like less than 10,000 in the entire Afghanistan war. Do I need to, like, let me pull this up real quick, because that's like, it's such a wild comparison to say Vietnam. U.S. soldier deaths per conflict, list them by most to least, give me the top 30 conflicts. So let's see if this is even in the top 30 conflicts right now. Extended rankings list. American Civil War, 750,000 people died. World War II, 405,000. World War I, 116,000. Vietnam, 58,000. Korean War, 36,000. American Revolutionary War, 25,000. The War of 1812, 15,000. The Mexican-American War, 13,283. Iraq War from 2003 to 2011, 4,431, number 9 of all time. Philippine-American War, 4,234. War in Afghanistan, which was 20 years long, 2,461. It's number 11 of all time. Spanish-American War, 2,446. Global War on Terror, 700. Outside of the Iraq and Afghanistan War. Northwest Indian War, 1,000. Seminole War, 1,500. Barbary Wars, first and second, 300. War on ISIS, 150. War of the Red River, 100. Utah War, 120. Box Rebellion, 58. Panama, 23. Persian Gulf War, 383. Kosovo Air Campaign, 2. Somalia, 43. Lebanon Peacekeeping, 265. Dominican Republic Intervention, 44. China Relief Expansion, 58. Mexican Border Campaign, 300. Quasi-war with France, 20. And we're at like 17 right now. Total in the Iran conflict right now as of July 26th. Let's see. 14. 18 because they pulled the other 4. So still, even 18. Not even in the top 30 conflicts yet.
In this plan.
Quickly, is the deal offer on right now as we have this conversation?
Well, the president was clear. I mean, the tenets of the deal are in place,
okay.
But we are in discussions with the Saudis about coming into normalization with Israel.
The
but I
U.S.
want to
did
be very
sign
clear.
the deal, though, right?
There was
The
a
U.S.
lot
signed the deal.
Well, Secretary Wright and the Saudi energy minister have signed that, but it has to be implemented, and the president's put an important condition on that.
The U.S. is fighting a war with Iran over its nuclear program. Why reward Saudi Arabia with a nuclear program now?
Huge difference. I mean, massive difference that it's important for people to understand. You have the
Right. Okay. There is a huge difference. How many times does an American vacation in Saudi Arabia? They just had a major comedy festival in Saudi Arabia. in Iran, you can't go there. It's a red label country.
Largest sponsor of terrorism in the world. In Iran, you have them.
They don't even have a currency
to allow the inspections. Contrast that, by the way, there's a deal in place with the UAE.
But could you
They allow the
Could you set off an arms race, a nuclear arms race in the
No,
region?
what will set off a nuclear arms race, Kirsten, is if Iran tests a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Saudi has made it clear they will get a nuclear weapon. This is civilian nuclear power, which is perfectly acceptable. The UAE has a plant. In fact, even Iran has a Russian-provided plant. The difference is Iran is enriching to weapons level that it doesn't need to do. Iran is burying it, which no other country in the world does, hundreds of feet underground, under hardened military infrastructure. Iran is trying to shield it with a conventional drone and missile shield. And Iran has stated if and when they get a nuclear weapon, they will not only use it on Israel, that they will threaten the rest of the world to export their revolution. That is night and day different than an American company selling a civilian nuclear plant to an ally.
Just to put a button on this, bottom line, the deal will not be fully implemented until Saudi Arabia agrees to sign on to the Abraham Accords.
That's the president's position.
Okay, all right. Ambassador Mike Waltz, thank you so very much for being here.
All right, thank you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay.
Joined now by the Roundtable in Washington, our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, former DNC chair Donna Brazil, and former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Good morning to all of you. And Mary, let's start with you. You pressed President Trump this week on what the plan was, what the strategy is on how to end this war. We now know that he threatened a massive strike. New York Times reporting that backing off. So what is the strategy?
Yeah, it's a good question because, Martha, right now there really doesn't seem to be a clear strategy. As you mentioned, there's that New York Times report that he's backing off plans for a massive strike. This morning, asked about that. The White House tells me that the president continues to retain all options. They stress he's always preferred a diplomatic solution. But, of course, so far talks have gone nowhere. And yet the White House this morning is still threatening a possible escalation, telling me that if Iran doesn't come back and negotiate a deal, that they know what will happen. Look, as you keep saying, Martha, I mean, we are months into a war that was supposed to last weeks. There is no clear off-ramp. The attacks are dragging on. And when I pressed the president, given the fact that Iran doesn't seem to be giving in, is the strategy just to keep attacking until they somehow get Iran to back down? Well, the president didn't really like that. He pushed back pretty strongly against me and insisted that Iran desperately wants to talk. But again, there are no signs of that. And so without an off-ramp, I think, the status quo seems likely to continue. These strikes will continue, and they are now widening. And of course, as oil prices spike, it just presents a huge political problem for the president and Republicans, especially as we barrel towards the midterms, Martha.
Chris, you know Donald Trump very well. He likes to win. Even though he said they won this war, there are no signs right now that he is winning.
Martha, look, there are no signs he's winning in Iran. And the Iranians have learned, as many of us.
At the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Donald Trump pointed out that Chris Christie tried to give a high five to Bruce Springsteen, and Bruce Springsteen denied him. And that Donald Trump said, "You don't have to embarrass yourself, Mr. Christie. You need to understand if somebody hates you, you need to just move on. There's enough fish in the sea." Now Mr. Christie is sitting here with his fat lard ass and the powerhouse roundtable of ABC this week, and he's going to grift against Trump. Trump is bad. Trump is bad. It must be really sad to have to live the life of Mr. Christie, who has to get a paycheck from Disney every week.
This country have learned that the bluster is the bluster. How many times has he threatened to bomb them out of civilization, bomb every power plant, bomb every bridge, and then he inevitably backs off? He thinks that this is a real estate deal, that if he blusters about someone else is looking at this property and you have to offer right now, that somehow they're going to do it. That doesn't work in international diplomacy. It certainly doesn't work with the Iranians. And I'll say this, Martha, the problem for the president and for my party right now is that the show is over. He can no longer distract from bad decisions with his charisma and his speaking. And the best example of that are the two speeches in the last week, the speech on election integrity and the speech on Friday night at the Correspondents' Dinner. No one is paying attention anymore. They are bored with the act. At times on Friday night, it seemed like he was even bored with the act. And the Iranians notice all of this, Martha, and they're not going to take him seriously. And that has got to be incredibly frustrating to a president who all he cares about is that people take him seriously.
And I want to go to you, Donna, on this. I have a feeling you agree with some of that, but I want to talk about the budget request on Capitol Hill, $67 billion. The Democrats pushed back and pushed back hard, but you heard what Pete Hegseth said. Look, this just shows you don't support the troops. That is the troops, rather. That's something they're going to hear again and again.
Well, Martha, as you all know, the Democrats do support our service members.
Hey, look, it's the lady that fucked over Hillary Clinton and literally screwed over the entire DSE.
Both who have been wounded, and of course the 18 service members have been killed. We also need to hear from the Department of Veteran Affairs so that we can support those troops once they're back home. The bottom line is, without a strategy, without an off-ramp, and with the negotiators probably somewhere between Mar-a-Lago and Switzerland, we need to understand what is the next step. We haven't heard of any escalation over the last 48 hours. Somehow or another, the strikes have stopped. But will the team get back together to put together the memorandum of understanding so that there can be a real ceasefire and negotiations can continue to end this war?
Mary, I want to talk about that Saudi deal. You heard me talking about that earlier. But how did that happen, that was signed and then, oh, wait a minute, it's not actually as we told you it was?
Yeah, it's pretty astounding. I mean, Energy Secretary Chris Wright and his Saudi counterpart signed this deal, this civilian nuclear agreement. And then, of course, just 24 hours later, after the president announced this, he puts in place this new condition that really puts the entire deal at jeopardy, now insisting that Saudi Arabia has to.
I bet you anything they clean this up on Tuesday. I bet you when Netanyahu comes to meet with him, I bet you during the Q&A with the press in the Oval Office with Netanyahu on Tuesday, that Trump has an answer to all this Saudi Arabia energy shit. Like, he's going to clear that up because, man, that's a wound that they're just continuing to dig in on.
To join the Abraham Accord, of course, that would require them to normalize relations with Israel, something that they've said won't happen unless Israel agrees to a Palestinian state. So it is highly unlikely to see how this is going to go forward. Certainly, the president can put the brakes on it now as he goes back and forth with the Saudis about this condition. But the White House, after the deal was announced and signed, made it very clear that unless they join the Abraham Accords, there will be no deal, Martha.
Chris, I want to turn back to the midterms. A lot can happen in 100 days, but this escalation has meant a hit on the economy again. The White House Republicans truly have to be worried about what happens. That is all the people care about. They don't like the way this war is being handled, and they don't like what's happening to the economy. So what do Republicans do?
Well, Martha, look,
Okay, reality, guys, just letting you know, I need to make $500 in like the next 6 days in order to pay my rent. So if you want to give me a super chat, right now would be the best time. I'm just saying. If you want to become a member, become a North Korean comrade in the chat, now would be a great time.
My party has got to be scared, especially some very good members of Congress who otherwise might deserve re-election are weighed down by the following. Look at the numbers in the Fox News poll last week. The president's job approval is at 38.61. But worse, he's 34 points underwater on the economy, 32 points underwater on Iran. And the bigger problem in these swing districts for the House and these swing states in the Senate is what's going on with independents. The president's job approval is 41 points underwater with independents, and he's 66 points underwater on inflation with independents. Those are deadly numbers. And so, for Republicans, they're going to have to start making a decision. Do they try to distance themselves from this president? And this is going to be
it's a really funny thing to say to a person in media.
The first time he's going to have to confront that potentially. Either they're going to go down with him as he's going down, and these are Fox News poll numbers. So, we got some real problems as a party, and it's going to affect. I was with Republican governors this past week, and there's a lot of Republican gubernatorial races that we are very, very worried about in states that we have always won. And that's a real problem.
And Donna, let's talk about the Senate, particularly
How about
Maine.
shut the fuck up for 5 minutes? How about no?
We've also got Michigan. Graham Plattner replaced. He was a prominent, Troy Jackson was a prominent Plattner supporter, but he also came in third place in Maine's gubernatorial primary.
Exactly.
So how confident are you that Troy Jackson could beat Susan Collins?
I'm very confident. Look, he's a logger. He's somebody who has been around the state of Maine for a long time. I believe he can put together the electoral coalition that will win in the state of Maine. He knows that state very well. He knows how to connect with working people. And I think Mr. Jackson is going to prove to be a very competitive candidate. I know he has 100 days, but the people of Maine are very motivated, and you saw that in the convention. In terms of Michigan, their primary is coming up next week, on August 4th. That is also a very competitive state. You have a mainstream Democrat running against an insurgent, or what we like to call a very energetic candidate from the left. That's going to also be a state that we need to win. But Democrats also have another path. We got Alaska that's still in play, Iowa that's still in place. And if we keep Georgia and we can improve in North Carolina, Democrats are still competitive in the United States Senate as well as the House. Look, Democrats have a great deal of momentum right now. We've won 90% of the races since Trump been in office. I'm confident that we can take back to Congress.
Martha, let me just say and remind my friend Donna that the road is littered with the people who are going to beat Susan Collins. And so I would feel very nervous about Maine with 100 days and an unproven statewide candidate against one of the most able political actors this town has seen over the last 30 years.
But you know.
And Mary, I want to go to you about Mike Sherrill, Chris's state's governor.
I ain't endorsing shit.
She announced that about 6,600 non-citizens were mistakenly registered to vote because of a technical error a few years ago. They didn't try to pretend they were citizens, but she said less than 400 actually voted, and there's no...
They didn't try to pretend they weren't citizens. They just voted illegally as non-citizens, 400 of them in one state, in one election. Hey, Mr. Chris Christie, this is your state. You got any response to
evidence
this?
of them swaying elections, but this becomes a PR nightmare and a really strong narrative going forward about election security.
Yeah, and the president, no surprise, was very quick to pounce on this, saying that it just underscores his desire to pass the Save America Act, that voting legislation that he's been pushing that would require voter ID and proof of citizenship. And Governor Sherrill, tried to come out and be as transparent as she could about this. She said when they find problems, they fix them. But, she said it was this computer error that when over 6,000 people went to sign up to get a driver's license, that they were erroneously also signed up and registered to vote. Now, she said and stressed that while about 400 of them did go on to actually vote, that there's no evidence that any of those votes were...
That is the evidence! That is the evidence! 400 of them verified voted illegally. There's no evidence that swayed the election? It doesn't matter. That's the evidence of fraud, my guy.
Able to sway elections, but certainly the president believes that this adds fuel to his fire as he's been amping.
But it is evidence of the initial claim, which is what? Unsecure elections. The claim was unsecure elections. The claim was never how many illegal votes can sway an election. The conversation is, are they illegally voting? And the answer now is yes.
Up those unproven claims of widespread voter fraud.
Widespread.
Martha, let me give you one thing. The governor has appointed my former attorney general, very independent, Jeff Chiesa, to do a bipartisan investigation. Look for that because he will not hide anything from the public. You can count on it.
Good.
Okay.
You won't hide anything from the public. You're right. They already told us that 400 illegal citizens illegally voted in the New Jersey election. And
thanks to all of you. Appreciate your time.
Jesus. All right, this is our last little bit, and then we'll get into some more weird news. But right now, this was CNN earlier today on State of the Union. They had a little op-ed documentary thing. Democratic Party fueled in Michigan. This is how Dems' civil war will shape the midterms. So they went to Michigan, and CNN is like orchestrating for the Jewish media like a civil war between Democrats. There's a Jew and then a Muslim. So not a war of Democrats, but the same war that's going on in the Middle East.
We don't need lip service. Look, I'm not a celebrity candidate.
El Sayed versus
I'm
Steve
ready for Haley. Come on, Haley.
and so much more.
Outsider anti-establishment is exactly
I don't give
what
a
we need
shit
right
what
now.
you are.
I'm very
Ain't playing
frightened
that game in
by what I see
2028.
going on in the Democratic Party.
A Democratic family feud.
You can't keep going in the same direction if you keep losing.
A must-win Senate seat. And a big battleground state.
I honestly don't know right now.
All right, this just feels like orchestrated bullshit. Let's get into what's really going on.
And you don't have...
How does Donald Trump, if Donald Trump beats the Dems in the midterms, here's why, according to CNN. Let's see.
Control of either chamber anywhere close to being locked up. What are we talking about here? Well, we're talking, first off, we're talking about cash on hand. We're talking about cash on hand. You know, Democrats, they're much more like this. They're your $1 bills. While Republicans, you're much more like this, your 50s, and dare I say, even your $100 bills. Because just take a look here. Cash on hand from the main outside groups, ergo your congressional committees, right, your NRSC. Take a look here. Republicans at this point, $657 million. My goodness gracious, that's why I'm talking about these bills, right, $100 bills. While the Democrats, only about $334 million, only about half the level of Republicans. And of course, cash is what makes the world go round in politics. Now, you think that these numbers are bad? How about the national committees themselves? The RNC, the DNC, Republican National Committee, Democratic National Committee. Look at this. Cash they have, June 2026. The RNC, $129 million. That's pretty gosh darn good, right? But get this, the Democrats are a rarity. The DNC is red on your screen. Why are they red? Because they're literally in the red,
negative.
way down there. They're actually in negative
And that's what's crazy when like a Democrat goes, we need to get the lobbying out of politics. What they're basically saying is we have no money and we're brokies.
That's cash on hand subtracted by the party debt actually is greater than the cash on hand. The Democratic National Committee, it's broke. It's basically broke. And why is this? What is going on here? And it is because Democratic enthusiasm for the Washington establishment, it is way down there underwater, under the Potomac River. Look at this. Look at this. I mean, hello, approve of their own party in Congress. We're talking about a new Tea Party here. You know, back in July of 2010, when Republicans really did not like their congressional leadership, right? Really didn't like it. Still, 52% of Republicans approved of their own party in Congress. Look at where Democrats are now. They are in a worse position, the Democrats in Congress, than Republicans were during their Tea Party wave of 2010. Now, Democrats, they can't even reach the 50% mark.
And that's why they're leaning into the communism
their own party.
They're leaning into the communism shit, but every one of the people that's actually in control in the DNC, their idea of it is to be like socialism and we got you healthcare. But that's not what we're after here.
I mean, my goodness gracious.
That's not what those people are after.
And of course, this to me is part of a larger problem that Democrats have when it comes to their own popularity. You know what it is? It's way down there underwater. Take a look at this. Okay, the Democratic Party net favorability. Back in 2018, when Democrats were able to take control of the House, they were actually on the plus side of the ledger. They were actually in positive territory at plus 1 point. Look now in 2026. We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. This isn't the congressional leadership. This is the party. The party. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible brand. Terrible. I want to almost get my Charles Barkley. Terrible, terrible. I can't even do a Charles Barkley. But the bottom line is it's absolutely terrible. Now, what is the reasons? Why is the Democratic brand so terrible? Well, one reason why the Democratic brand is so terrible at this point in the voters' minds is take a look at this trend line. Voters saying that Democrats are too liberal. In 1996, it was 42%. In 2013, it was 58%. Now, the clear majority of Americans believe, and the clear majority of voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. 57%. They think that the Democratic Party is out of the mainstream, out of the frame, I dare say. My God, this is a massive, massive problem. And you know what is fueling that? You know what's only adding fuel to the fire? How about the Democratic Socialists of America? You know, I mentioned a new Tea Party. Net favorable opinion of the Tea Party back in June of 2010 versus the Democratic Socialists of America, the DSA, right now. Remember, the Tea Party helped keep Democrats in control of the United States Senate back in 2010 because Republicans ran all these candidates that were just seen out of the mainstream, right? Christine O'Donnell in Delaware. How about Ken Buck in Colorado? How about Sharon Angle, who did the impossible in Nevada and helped get Harry Reid another term in the United States Senate? Well, their net favorable rating back in June of 2010, 13 points underwater. Not too hot to trot.
And that was just Tea Party.
Not too hot to trot.
That started a whole revolution.
Not absolutely terrible. Compared to the DSA now, 25 points underwater. Twice as unpopular as the Tea Party was back in June of 2010. Now, let's broaden this out a little bit. Let's talk about...
Now, mind you, what did they do at the Tea Party? They boxed us out. They boxed Charlie Kirk out. They boxed myself out. They boxed us door knocking for Ron Paul out. And we ended up with Mitt Romney as a candidate. What are the Democrats going to actually do here? They're at double the deficit with this communism stuff.
We're talking about. What are the effects of this? How could this play out? Well, how about this? How about House candidates' money raised? You know, it's not as bad for Democrats in the House as it is for their party committees, but still, they're in a worse position now in terms of the percentage of cash that's been raised by Democrats versus Republicans. We're talking about they get 55% of the cash raised. That is down from the 61%. So even though Democrats are ahead in the cash race for the House candidates, they are in a worse position than they were back in 2018 when they took back the House. Now, this to me is part of what we're seeing in the overall House picture, right? The playing field is smaller for Democrats. House seats at least leaning towards the GOP, according to the Cook Political Report. This is the Trump midterms. Back in July of 2018, it was 206 seats at this point that were leaning towards the GOP, at least leaning. Now, it's 212 in a race to 218. Republicans are nearly to that 218 marker. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get there, but they're much closer than they were at this point in the 2018 cycle. Now, this is, again, part of a larger trend that we're seeing. National trend lines. Democrats lead on the generic ballot. Again, midterms with the Republican president. In 2006, Democrats were up by 10 points. They took back the House. In 2018, they were up by 8 points, very similar to 10. Now that lead is on one hand. It's just 5. It's just 5 points. Now, why is this 5 points so important? Because Republicans have helped make it so important. How? Through the redistricting efforts. The redistricting efforts, which means so much. Okay, Democrats in the national House vote margin, their current poll lead nationally is 5. How much do they need to win back the U.S. House of Representatives? Well, with redistricting, we're talking about 3 to 4. Democrats are right on the margin. Republicans have made them right on the margin. So the race for the House is not anywhere close to being cinched up for the Democrats. Now, you might notice, I've been saying a lot in a lot of period of time. I'm a little, woo! So today, to quench my thirst.
What is this guy doing?
Oh, yeah. I got myself a Canada Dry, 0 sugar, cherry fruit splash. All right, let's have a little bit of it.
The fuck is going on at CNN?
Oh, I love cherry. Okay. It's a march to the finish here. We're nearly done. All right. We've talked about the House. But perhaps the biggest problem for for Democrats is in the race for Senate control. Okay. So let's just talk about the math that is needed here. The math that's needed. States Dems need to win the Senate. They need a total net gain of 4 seats. Well, 3 of these seats they'll have to pick up are in states that Trump won. Back in 2024. And I'll note the one blue state is Maine. And let's be real, at this point, That is very TBD, given all the Graham Plattner stuff and then having to bring in a new Democratic candidate. That is very TBD. So even that blue state, not anywhere close to being cinched. Now, we're talking about those red states, right? And only one of those states was won by Trump by a small margin. That was North Carolina, +3 in terms of the pickup opportunities. The rest, Ohio, Alaska, Iowa, Texas, all won by Trump by double digits. We are talking really a lot of states that are on the board that
just
are
do whatever they
red
want 'cause they
leaning.
know they can do whatever
That's
they
what's
want.
going on here. And you know what? We can go
there
back
really
through
no way for
history.
them to really
We
win
can go
this?
back to the last Trump midterm election and think, okay, did they pick up any states like this? Well, no, not really. Talk about the
Jesus.
2018 red state Dem pickups. There's just a single one. Just a single numero uno. Just one, baby. Just one. That was Arizona. And Trump won that state by just 4 points, much more like a North Carolina, right? And Kristen Sinema, the Democrat, she was then a Democrat, she only won it by 2. So there's no real history of this going on here. Now, if we're talking just generally speaking, you can see this here, again, in the 6 key states that we're looking at, the generic ballot lead for the Republicans +6. Again, 53% of Democrats say, or excuse me, 53% of the voters in those key swing states say that the Democratic Party is too far to the left. So the Senate battleground, much more even extreme than what we see nationally. Finally, I'll just note in terms of the prediction markets at this point, which kind of brings it all together, the chance to win the Senate, you know, back in April 24th, there was about a 50-50 shot. By July 24th, look at that. The Republican chances now, we put it all together, they're at a 56% chance. But you know what? I would argue the biggest red flag that Democrats have, the biggest red flag, look at this. It's apathy, not believing that Democrats can change anything. Because the impacts of Democratic policies on your cost of living, only 41% say help, hurt, or wouldn't change it. The clear majority, nearly 3 in 5, 59%. So, look, these are all the red flags. If, in fact, Democrats can't take back control of either the House and or the Senate, and if Trump can stop them, this is what's going on. Folks, if you like what you heard, why don't you leave a comment? We'll see if we'll be able to delve into.
Bro, what is this autistic crazy? Why don't you leave a comment? An hour ago, 7,000 views. I'm outperforming this guy, guys. Oh, no. CNN is absolutely dead. They're completely dead. Holy crap. That is so crazy.
So joins us now.
He's asking for a comment and he only has 7,000 views in an hour. I'm literally generating 20,000 views an hour. Oh my God. Y'all, you're on the new CNN. Oof.
Senator,
what?
We are going to get to the budget bill, but first...
All right, Peter Ducey in a second here, but let me just tell you guys, I'm just going to let you guys know real quick what the seats are that are open for the midterms 100 days out. These are the Senate seats. Alabama has a Republican open incumbent primary or open incumbent election, a GOP nominee up against a Democrat nominee. Alaska Republican seat is Republican nominee versus Republican or Democrat nominee. Arkansas Republican versus Democrat. Colorado is a Democrat seat, which is John Hickenlooper up against a GOP nominee. Delaware, we got a Democrat, Chris Coons, up against a GOP nominee. Florida, we got a special election Republican, which is Ashley Mood up against Josh Wheel. In Georgia, we got Democratic Senator John Ossoff up against Brian Kemp. That's not right. It's actually Collins. Idaho, Republican nominee against Democrat nominee. Illinois, Democrat open. Democrat versus Republican. Iowa, open. Republican versus Democrat. Kansas, Republican Roger Marshall versus a Democrat. Kentucky, open, Republican versus Democrat. Louisiana, Bill Cassidy versus Democrat. These are wrong. These are wrong. I'm not even going to read this. Because he lost his primary.
The Iran war is not about
fucking chat.
According to
Chat
the New York
GPT
Times,
bullshit.
the president
I gotta go into
is
Gemini
putting on
and
hold
get a fucking
plans
real
to
one.
sharply escalate American military assault against Iran. The threat to interceptor stockpiles is one of the many considerations that have made a return. What do you make of this, Senator?
Well, the president is focused on two things, American safety and, of
Bro,
course,
I told you not to
affordability.
spam.
And Iran is key to this because we need to make sure Iran never
24-hour,
gets a
fuck
nuclear
you.
weapon.
Bye.
And we need to make sure that the Straits of Hormuz are open so oil can flow. With the production of oil that we have now in the United States, keeping the Straits open will keep energy prices down long term in the United States. Iran's been at war with us for over 50 years. The killing continues, and sadly, we lost 4 more service members this past week, and our heart goes out to them. The president's going to continue to negotiate from a position of strength. But right now, the Democrats in the House and in the Senate are trying to tie the president's hands. They are voting against funding for the troops, against the weapons that the troops need. And it's disgraceful what the Democrats are doing now at a time when we need to make sure that our troops are fully funded and have the resources they need to be the greatest fighting force on earth.
And it's definitely surprising what you're talking about, that this is happening during a wartime, that we are actively striking an adversary and the funding is getting held up. The president, though, he does have this this other top priority, and it was what he was posting about overnight. He says the Save America Act needs to get passed before you guys leave for August recess. He also wants you to terminate the filibuster. Is any of that going to happen before the recess?
I want to get as much of the Save America Act passed as we possibly can. I agree with the president, as do the American people. You should have to be an American citizen to register to vote. You should have to show a photo ID in order to vote. The president and I talked about this and agreed earlier in this week, and there is a new urgency because of what we saw happening in New Jersey. In New Jersey, over 6,000 non-residents non-citizens were registered to vote, and many of them did. And it was because in New Jersey, they give driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. And then automatically they get registered to vote if you get a driver's license. The New Jersey governor...
Oh, let's go to the real guy. We just watched the CNN guy, but I got Kornacki up here now. They did Kornacki in 4 minutes, though. They made Kornacki go quick.
100 days until the midterm election.
Kornacki is Kornacki for a reason, obviously, because that guy was doing... I don't even know what that guy was doing on CNN.
Will the war in Iran and its impact
7,000
on the
views in
economy
an
hurt
hour, bro, on
Republicans'
CNN?
chances of holding on to power? Can
Yikes.
Democrats flip the House and Senate, even as a fight rages within the party over its future? Joining me for a look at all of it, NBC News Chief Data Analyst Steve Kornacki. Steve, good morning. Thank you for being here. So much we're watching with 100 days to go.
Yeah, the countdown really is on. Let's put in perspective the landscape here. The bottom line number for Trump, this is an average of all the polls right now. Trump at 41% approve. Compare that to his first term, the midterm in 2018. At this point, he is a little bit lower now than he was then. I think no mystery about what's driving this. Again, this is from a Fox News poll recently, but look at Trump on the issues here. Majority disapprove everywhere. His best mark is 42 on immigration. Look at those numbers on Iran, on the economy, on inflation. Goes a long way to explaining the overall approval rating.
Absolutely.
And then there's this. How does he stack up with recent presidents at this same point here? Again, you see Trump at 41 now, 43 in 2018, and you see the others.
Yeah, and we should note that in almost all of these cases, the party in power lost seats in the midterm elections. A slightly different picture in 2022 with former President Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. Democrats did lose the House in 22, but it was only a few seats, and they actually gained a Senate seat. And that's what Republicans are hoping to do some version of, ironically enough, this year. And Republicans think that their one chance is the image of the Democratic Party. We've been seeing it in the primary season. Socialists winning Democratic primaries, candidates from the far left. And look at this here. Among Democrats, this is that Fox poll, a majority have a favorable view of socialism. Step outside the Democratic Party, it's a totally different world. Look at independents, socialism.
77% unfavorable.
So is that a
because everybody knows it's an empty
Democrats?
promise.
It would keep them from capitalizing on Trump's obvious weaknesses here. Look more specifically at the two chambers here.
Yikes.
Senate
They're going to have to tank their own
If you're a Democrat,
candidates.
this is the particularly tough one. They need a net gain of 4 seats to get control of the Senate. Take a look at the map here. How would they get 4? 4 is their target number. There's first thing, they can't lose ground. Georgia, New Hampshire, Michigan, Democratic seats. Big primary coming up in Michigan.
We'll
in a
go
few
through
weeks
these
there.
one by
It could
one
have
right
general
after
election
this.
implications. Democrats have to win those just to not
Get to
lose
know each
ground.
candidate.
Then the 2 Republican seats they think they have the best shot at would be Susan Collins in Maine. Democrats have a new candidate there now. And in North Carolina, where Democrats have nominated the former governor there, it's a close state in 24. If they do that, they still need 2 more. And where could they get those 2? This is where it gets real tough for them. Look at this. These are the 4 they talk about. Alaska, Iowa, Ohio, Texas. And look at this, Kristen. They were all not just Trump states. Double digit Trump states. Democrats would need at least 2
Even
of
if you
those
bring them down
to
with
get
the
Senate.
Iran and the
House side
Jews
again,
and the
this one's more
Instagram and the
manageable for
everything.
Democrats. That's the current balance. Some vacancies. They only need a gain of a
losing
few
shit.
seats
I think
to flip it. It wouldn't
I
take-
honestly, after seeing these stats, seeing the CNN guy, and then this now, which this is so much better. But after seeing this, it's like, no wonder they're acting how they're acting. They can do whatever the fuck they want. They have impunity. They're not going to lose shit in the midterms.
That big of a night. 2 bellwether
Especially
tests
after
on the Republican
redistricting.
side. Mike Lawler, New York.
It's all just
you see this?
nonsense.
One of the few House Republicans in a district that Trump lost. Is he able to hold on in a climate like this? If he does, that could bode well for Republican chances. Flip side of this, Texas, Democratic incumbent Vicente Gonzalez. Remember, they redrew the lines, Republicans did in Texas, to take advantage here. This is Deep South Texas, of those Hispanic gains Trump made in 2024. This district would have gone for Trump now by 11 points. If Gonzalez is able to survive here, it would say those Hispanic gains, maybe they're not translating past 24 for Republicans. Maybe they're not transferring to other candidates. And, of course, hanging over all of this is the big X factor, the war with Iran. And you can see it here, a new poll from Politico. Basically 2/3, 36 plus 29, 65% saying the war shouldn't continue or only if costs to Americans don't increase. But here's what really stands out, Kristen. The MAGA Republican base. It's now 56% who share that opinion here. Go back a couple months, that number was only 29 and 12. That number was only 41, from 41 to 56.
Right, that's the hope. And your hope is that the war continues and then you can use the war to leverage these votes. But the fact is it's such an uphill battle. You have to win 4 Senate seats in states where he won all 4 of those states by double digits in 2024. And your only way out of this is to make everyone hate the war.
Base.
This is significant because this is really one of the first times we've seen erosion in President Trump's MAGA base.
Absolutely. And volatility, still months to go before the election.
All right, so much to watch. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much for being here to break it all down for us.
We thank
you. Much better, guys. All right, let's see. 100 days until the midterms. Let's see what MS Now is up to.
Robinson, MS Now political analyst and Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist, and Miles Taylor, former DHS.
Got 4 minutes till the next hour, guys. Then we're going to go down and we're going to start breaking down every single candidate, every single Senate race. So if you want to stay with us, that's what we're going to be doing
What a
next
great
hour.
table. We are 100 days out from the midterms. You know, I think we're probably paying more attention right now than the average voter is. And we should not be in the prediction game. But if things continue along the trend lines that we're seeing right now, Miles, with the war in Iran not seemingly intractable, with the president himself saying behind closed doors that he does not see any diplomatic off-ramps, affordability crisis only simmering even more, gas prices probably going up, economists predicting that this steep price correction is about to take place. What should we expect going into November?
Well, Jackie, for someone who's not in the prediction game, you got some good numbers.
But I was someone who was really a negative Nancy about predictions about the Senate.
Yeah.
And even with the Troy Jackson, Graham Plattner of it all, do you think that's changed the calculus at all?
Without getting into specific races, when you look in aggregate at the situation, I genuinely think that we are seeing Donald Trump mount an absolutely historic get-out-the-vote effort. The only problem for him is he's doing it for the other side. If you look at the data right now, there is a remarkable enthusiasm gap between Democrats
now having
and
a whole
Republicans,
different narrative.
and it's largely driven by Trump himself. Donald Trump has made Democrats feel like the fundamental right to vote is at stake. And a lot of folks worry that would result in voter suppression. If people feel like their vote's not going to get counted, they're not going to show up. But almost 3 in 4 Democrats in this country say this is the most important midterm in their lifetimes. Right. Extraordinary enthusiasm about getting out to vote in this election. On the other hand, Republicans, their enthusiasm is very soft this election cycle. Why? Well, I'm going to speculate it's because there's been a guy at the head of their party for the past 2 years who said, if you reelect me, you'll never have to vote again. Unfortunately for him, they seem to be listening. They seem to be thinking, maybe we don't need to vote again. This is the same man who weeks ago, on July 3rd, said, if you let me pass the Save America Act, Republicans will win for 100 years. He's telling his side, we don't need you to show up. We got it covered. And he's telling the other side, you have to be there. That's showing up in the data. If that holds until Election Day, it's going to be a rout for Donald Trump.
And he's telling his voters that your vote won't count. He's telling them over and over and over again that they're going to steal the election. So if I'm a voter, why would I vote? If someone is going to steal my vote, why, if China or Venezuela or any, like these random countries that he chooses are going to not make my vote not count, why would I vote? Like, I've talked to Republican strategists who would love for him to stop talking about this, but it's been 10 years and I don't think he's going to. I want to look at a new Emerson poll that goes to what you're saying, Miles. Democrats have a plus 11 advantage on the generic congressional ballot. So basically,
they're just making shit up over here, aren't they?
You don't even have a name for a Democrat. So this can be higher or lower in a lot of these races. But at the end of the day, more people want a Democrat to be in Congress where they live than a Republican.
It's a fake poll.
On Democrat, Republican 42. That's big. I mean, even with redistricting, that seems like something that's hard.
11-point gap there would mean just a wipeout. I mean, that 11 points is huge. Other polls have it anywhere between 3 and 11, but it seems to average around.
And J.D. Vance wins it again. We're going to go into hour 4, guys. You're going to want to stay around for hour 4 and hour 5 because our third-party candidates coming up are going to be some wild ones that you guys have been asking for a long time. Here comes hour 4 of the poll. Who will be president in 2028? 835 days until election. We got Mr. J.D. Vance with 64 wins. We got Mr. Gavin Newsom with 19 wins. And our third-party candidate this hour, Donald Trump. There you go, guys. You've asked for it. You've asked for it for a long time. If you have the chance to destroy the Constitution of 1951 and go back to voting for Donald Trump, would you do so? And right now, J.D. Vance is still beating Donald Trump in a third term. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's break these all down now, okay? I'm going to give you guys the first race up. Our first race is Republican versus Democrat in the state of Alabama, okay? Our Republican up first, here are the brief overviews. Barry Moore. He's an incumbent U.S. representative from Alabama. Previously represented Alabama's 2nd District before redistricting. Former small business owner and Alabama state legislator. Strong conservative who emphasizes border security, reducing federal spending, support for energy industry, Second Amendment rights, social conservative positions, generally aligned with former President Donald Trump. Okay? So, first up, we got Barry Moore. Ready? Let's go. Barry Moore. Barry Moore. And this is the first thing we see. We're just going with the first thing we see. First thing we see of these people.
Hey, folks, I'm Congressman Barry Moore. This is my wife, Heather.
He's a senator.
We're sitting right here at our home on the same porch.
Senator that I've never seen before, mind you. That's already giving me a little bit of skepticism. But again, here's my thing, especially with political ads. You need to just make sure that you're not bashing the other side. If you're telling me what you're going to do, I'm way more likely to vote for you than if you're just pointing out and pointing the finger at the other side.
That's where we raised our kids. We built
the
our
Republicans.
business.
He
Learned
is
the
the
values
senator.
we never let go of. Faith, family, hardworking country. We've sat here and prayed through some tough decisions, seen life changes, and talked about the future of our country.
And lately, those conversations have been about what is really at stake for Alabama and for America.
I was the first elected official in the nation to endorse Donald Trump back in 2015. I didn't wait to see which way the wind.
Barry Moore has been in Congress for 16 years. Just so you guys know.
Was blowing.
If that's too much for you, sounds like too much for me.
I've stood with him every
I'm ready
step
to
of the
vote for
way
the
in
Democrat.
Congress, fighting for the America First agenda. In Washington, I never played the political games. I stood up to the swamp. I fought the deep state. And I've done what I said I would do. That's why I'm a proud member of the House Freedom Caucus, the conservative fighters who don't back down. I fought to shut down the border, to deport illegal immigrants, to cut taxes on tips, overtime, and Social Security, and to stop the radical left from indoctrinating our kids. I've defended life, liberty, and Christian values, and your constitutional rights.
Barry's office has helped over 7,000 constituents, especially veterans, get the benefits that they were promised. He's never forgotten who he works for.
And this campaign isn't about climbing some ladder or pleasing the establishment. I'm not a rhino, and I'm sure not one of those MAGA pretenders suddenly coming to be conservative. I ain't never been nothing but a Republican, and I stand up for our values in Congress every day.
Barry works harder than anyone I know, whether it's helping a veteran, listening to the needs of a farmer, or standing up for what is right in Washington, D.C.
It's true. It's because I've never forgotten where I come from. I grew up on a farm. I started my own company with one old truck, and I spent my life fighting for the folks who get up every day to work hard to keep our country running. And now, after a lot of prayer and conversations like this one, I've decided to run for the United States Senate. I'll keep standing with President Trump to secure the border, to stop the reckless spending, defend our farmers, and fight back against the Washington swamp that's forgotten who they work for. I'm not going to change, and I'm not backing down. This campaign isn't about me. It's about you. It's about our families, your freedom, and the future of this great country. I'm Barry Moore, and I'd be honored to earn your vote as the next U.S. Senator from Alabama. Let's fight together for our values, for our family, for our America.
All right, so that is Barry Moore for Alabama. He has been in office for 16 years. The next guy who is going up against him, the Democrat, has been a judge in Alabama for 8 years. 8 years of public service, Alabama only, versus the actual thing. So here we go.
Two Democrats are also vying for that party's nomination for run for that U.S. Senate seat. Everett West got more than 39% of the vote in last month's primary election.
His opponent in today's runoff, Dakari Lariat, who got 29% of the vote last month. The Associated Press calling the race, though, for West with 55% of the vote.
Your reporter James Giles joining us live now from Everett West's watch party. What is it like there now that this is a victory speech here?
I want to hear from him.
Campaigning court judge is campaigning on lower costs for families and improving rural health care.
I don't like it. Why isn't he talking? Why isn't he talking? There's 35 seconds.
The difference here is I've been to the federal appellate courts and I won on the judicial issues. I've gone to the federal and state courts and I won on search and seizure and I won on due process. I've been a representative pursuant to the Constitution of people. Now I want to represent you. I've got the experience as a lawyer. Can you imagine Attorney Everett West, Attorney Shamari Figures, Attorney Terry Sewell representing Alabama? That's the dream team. And that's the difference in me and these other candidates I have experience.
It looks like we got two hokey individuals. Either you're going for somebody that's a religious background character on The Boys and has been in Congress for 16 years, or you're going for this 8-year judge who is, I guess, Jesse Jackson in disguise. I'm going to go with Jesse Jackson in disguise. He hasn't been a senator yet. Next up, we got Dan Sullivan versus Mary Pelova. All right, so let's go with Dan. Let's see what Dan's doing. Dan Sullivan. The cheating GOP on challenger with some name. Takeout. Man, they really do manipulate their fucking media now, don't they? Here he is.
I must admit, I think this is rotten. It looks a little bit like it was, I mean, that this is not, that this was sort of created so that you don't win. So tell me, who recruited this Dan Sullivan to run again, to run in the primary?
Wait,
this
what is
a dirty trick.
It's cheating GOP.
Imagine going to vote in a very important race. But when you look at the ballot, there are two candidates with the same name from the same party. It'd be a little confusing, right? Well, that's exactly what's happening in the crucial Alaska race that could ultimately decide control of the United States Senate. Incumbent Republican Senator Dan S. Sullivan is up for re-election. And there's an 11th hour ad also running as a Republican, and his name is Dan J. Sullivan.
What?
The only differences on the ballots will be their initials. And that could have enormous ramifications because the state has an open primary where the top 4 vote getters all advance to the November election.
Are you
Republicans
kidding me?
fear that both men could end up in the final 4 and effectively split, handing the election to the Democrats' well-funded candidate, former Congresswoman Mary Peltola. The challenger, Dan...
Oh, my God. So the woman is going to win in Alaska because 2 different Republicans with the same name are going to end up on the ballot? No, it's not a trick by them. Like, they're fucking themselves over. Because in Alaska, 4 people go on the ballot for a Senate, the top 4 vote getters, on August 11th. There's going to be 2 Dan Sullivans that are both Republican on the ticket that are going to split the vote and allow her to win.
Jay Sullivan
On name alone.
respond to our many calls about his campaign bid, but he just gave an interview to his hometown newspaper saying, quote, "I have every right to stand up and do this," and he called himself a, quote, "pragmatic Republican centrist." I caught up exclusively with Senator Sullivan, who accuses Democrats of being behind all of this, something they firmly deny.
Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
You're running against Dan Sullivan.
Well, we'll see. Schumer has said his path to the majority leader, the ultimate power for him, runs through Alaska, flipping the Alaska seat. It's not my seat, it's the people's seat. So I'm running against a former 2-term liberal Democrat congresswoman named Mary Peltola. Okay, she was fired by the Alaska people in her re-election in 2024, primarily because she was ineffective. I think the Democrats saw, hey, geez, Dan Sullivan's got a great record. Their opponent, Peltola, doesn't have anything. Dan Sullivan's got a real strong vision for Alaska. She doesn't. Schumer doesn't. So it's not gotten to the point where they want it. So they're like, now we got to cheat. So let's cheat. So what do I mean by cheating? And this is serious stuff. When people are going, oh, there's 2 Dan Sullivans, isn't that funny? No, it's cheating. Democrats recruited a guy.
Holy shit. Dan, this is some major fucking what? No way.
The name of Dan Sullivan. He is a liberal progressive, right? We've seen his donations to all the far left groups. He's donated to Peltola, okay? And his whole purpose of running is to confuse Alaskans, to make them think, Alaskan voters, that somehow he's me, so they could rig the vote in favor of Mary Peltola. What are the facts behind that? At the last minute, when he filed as a Republican. He's not a Republican. It's kind of a joke. Of course he's not a Republican. But he filed as a Republican because he wants Dan Sullivan with an R, and I'm Dan Sullivan with the R. Everybody knows me as the Republican. So they want that there, okay? So that's just false, right? And it's meant to confuse Alaskans. Then, when he filed, his campaign logo, his letterhead, his website, all had my campaign logo that I've had for 13 years, right? So he stole it. Just for people, so that's mine, right?
Yeah, he's like, you don't trust CNN, he's going to show you.
That's his. Right?
It's the same fucking logo.
It is. I'd say about 98%.
Yeah, that's a goddamn trademark violation. I've never seen one.
Why would he do that?
Why would he do that?
Confuse Alaskans on who...
It's not like the guy's trying to separate himself and say that he's better than this guy. He's just staying quiet and confusing people so they split the vote.
You know, is the me or him. And then finally, when this gets interesting in your world, when he put out his big press release, when he was running with my stolen logo on it, we did the metadata search on it, and the press release was actually written by a Democrat consultant, well known.
Oh my God. So they know that they're doing this.
New York Times, in 2 different articles, describes as a Peltola supporter. So
if you're a Democrat, like, how can you represent, or like, it's just a party of people that like to cheat. Because it's like, how can you have any moral high ground towards being for the party of the DNC if the DNC boxes out RFK, changes the rules for Joe Biden, replaces him with Kamala Harris, puts fucking 2 John Sullivans up in Alaska to try to win the Alaskan race for a Democrat.
Democrat consultant, Peltola
They're not illegal
supporter,
things,
writing
but
the
they
press
don't really
release
symbolize a
of
good faith
this
agreement
guy,
with your
the sham
constituents.
candidate. So this is just corruption.
Could this succeed? Are you worried that this could succeed?
What do you mean, did this succeed? Well, the election isn't until August 11th, so we won't know until he's on the ballot. And then if he's on the ballot in November, which he most likely will be because the top 4 vote getters in Alaska get on the ballot, then maybe it's probably going to be a huge problem. But again, we should never have 2 John Sullivans because the Democratic Party funded one of them on the ballot in Alaska, specifically using the same exact logo as the sitting senator to manipulate the vote.
End up costing you your seat.
Look, I'm going to win, right? But they're trying to cheat. I mean, there's no
way about it.
Plausible explanation. What this letter is doing, it's the NRSC saying to the Lieutenant Governor of Alaska, who's in charge of elections, this is a sham candidate. Of course, people have the right to run for office, but, and this is well researched, the case law says, federal and state case law, you don't have the right to run for office if your primary intent is to confuse the voters and rig the election in favor of someone else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this guy's doing.
Exactly. It's not illegal what he's doing. And Democrats would even say that. They go, oh, I don't know, it's not illegal though, right? As if it's like morally okay to do something like that.
With the support of the Democrat.
They don't think that the woman can win. They think that if they put a gay up there with his exact logo and name, enough people will vote for that guy accidentally, and their person will win. And their response, if that's pointed out to them, is, well, it's not illegal. Well, right, but shouldn't you have faith in your Democratic candidate that she would be able to get enough votes?
And a Peltola campaign supporter. If somehow the DSCC or Schumer or Gillibrand knew about this or were okay with this or maybe even orchestrated it, my view is this would be a scandal of the highest order.
I mean, look, politics is a dirty business, people will say. It happens.
See, but that's what I mean. What do you mean it happens? It's a dirty business, you say. They're literally saying that they don't think that their candidate can get enough votes, but if we put up a completely fake independent candidate and fund his campaign and give him money, enough people will accidentally vote for the wrong person to manipulate the election in our favor. What about that screams democracy?
People have tried to do things like this in the past. Trump tried to overturn the 2020 elections. There are things that happen.
How is that even close to what they're doing here?
This is politics. What do you say to people who say that this is just the way things are?
Well, there's laws, right? And there's regulations. And I don't think people are that cynical, right? This is dirty politics. I hope his lieutenant governor does the right thing, reads this brief and says this person is not qualified.
If he doesn't, if it was determined that he needs to stay on this ballot because that he is an eligible candidate, then what's the implication?
Well, I think that we've already put it in this letter. The implication is this will probably lead to litigation.
Yeah.
All right, my panel is back. Now, just first, for the record, the Democrats, we polled all the top Democrats in Alaska and in Washington. They're all denying that they had any involvement in getting Dan.
Of course, duh!
Jay Sullivan, the challenger into the
called them all up. They all said no.
Campaign told us
they're not illegally putting a candidate up.
Either Sullivan campaign, and that's what the Senate key super PAC said here in Washington. Chuck Schumer's office said they had no involvement. The Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee said they had no involvement. Could this be enough, though? You can hear the concern from the senator. He is very, very worried that if Dan J. Sullivan stays in this race, it could have a major impact.
I take his concern seriously. I think that it could have an impact.
Good.
I think I would disagree.
Well, right. The thing I would disagree with, and this is the problem with Democrats, he's going to say, that's dirty politics, and that's completely illegal. It's fucking disgusting to acknowledge that you're doing that. You're manipulating a mass vote of Alaskans. You don't believe Alaskans will select your person, but that it's all okay because it's not illegal. The morality is out the fucking window on these people.
With him, with the senator on this, he said people don't want this type of politics or something like that. I think there's an expectation that politics has this kind of trickery in it, that both sides have kind of engaged in that. So I'm not sure you're really going to see some mass outcry for the unfairness of this all. In some ways, it feels like a kind of challenge that might be uncomfortable or might be difficult, but puts the onus on him to communicate clearly about the distinctions between the two candidates.
Yeah, the one-letter difference. And just for the record, Dan J. Sullivan, he did give money to the Peltola campaign, a small amount. It was $130 over in 2 House campaigns that we found. $650 he gave to Act Blue, which is the Democratic Party's main fundraising platform. So a small amount of money. He did use a Democratic consultant, he acknowledged in this interview, to help write that press release. He said he was Googling around, and that's why he found
Again, he did acknowledge that he had a Democratic insider write that press release. But he's saying he was just Googling around for somebody to write him a press release. Happened to be a Republican independent.
And then he said about his own political...
Right! Why can't you... Oh, come on, exactly! The pundit on the news network even knows.
I'm a moderate on both ends of things. I look for people that I think are going to solve some problems.
Fucking trying to steal it in Alaska, guys.
People and seem like they're caring, and that's why I've given money. So he said he supported both sides of the aisle. He said he supported Democrats and Republicans in the past. So it's going to be hard to remove him from the ballot, it seems.
Right. My question is, why is it always Alaska that has these name shenanigans? Because remember, Lisa Murkowski is there because she won on a write-in campaign.
A write-in campaign.
Very complicated or very hard to spell last name for the average person. But this is such a fascinating development because when it comes to Alaska and particularly Dems, including Alaska, in that path to the majority, a lot of things have broken right for Democrats in Alaska, of all places, which has not had a Democratic senator in, I believe, 12 years. Because
you know what you do? You hire somebody like me to do a bunch of social media in every metropolitan area in Alaska for you, Senator John Sullivan. And what you do is you say, get the fucking J out of our name. And you make sure that every single person in all of Alaska by November 5th understands that you do not want the J in your name. Get the J out. Get the J out. Everything's about get the J out. And embed that philosophy into the ballot booth when you get there, and you got no problems. Because they're not voting for the woman. They already know that. They're hoping that they get confused with your name. Well, he has that initial J. So get the J out. You don't want the J. The J's a loser. We don't smoke a bunch of fucking J's in Alaska. The Jew, that's another one too. There you go.
They got a great candidate.
Anything to associate this guy as the enemy of the election so that you can understand that you, the senator, are actually the good side.
Mary Peltola, who has won statewide. And Republicans are worried enough that they are making reservations in that state. Yeah. So this is any little thing I feel could really affect
Republicans have reserved $12 million till the end of the year, and Democrats $8 million.
Well, also, you've got a senator who's wandering around the halls of the Senate now with a sheet of paper that he has to show reporters. This is me, and I'm the real me, and this is him, and he's the fake me. Here's my. So he's obviously nervous, and understandably so. The problem he's got is.
But it's not about nerves; it's about execution. And he needs right now. What he needs to do is not do some fake bullshit PR stunt. He needs to literally fight it out. Get the J out. Get the J out of your name. All right, next election up. So right now, so far, guys, we got, I would tell you, if you live in Alabama, vote for the lawyer Everett. He's a Democrat. If you're in Alaska, I vote for Dan Sullivan because the fucking Democrats are trying to fuck him. Arkansas is up next. We got Tim Cotton, sitting senator of 11 years, up against Haley Schaffner, who has never been in office. So Tom Cotton versus Haley Schaffner.
We are having some other results come in right now as we speak. Hallie Schaffner has taken it 82% to Ethan Dunbar 18%. And then another one.
In my seat, looking at the results come in, and I started hearing cheers. And my photographer, Bree Conyer, said, "Hey, Hallie is over there hugging people. You might want to check the results." And as called, she has won that Democratic seat for the U.S. Senate. I'm actually here with her now. How are you feeling at this moment?
Oh my gosh. Overwhelmed, grateful, humbled. I am just so honored that the people of Arkansas have chosen me to run this race.
Yeah, I just talked to you, I guess 30 minutes ago. You said, "I'm nervous."
She is a sixth-generation Arkansas farmer and small business owner near Newport, Arkansas. Operated her family's farm for about 9 years before the farm closed after 2024 season due to financial pressures. She has also worked on conservation, food systems, and hunger relief initiatives. Bachelor's degree from Vanderbilt University, master's in public service from Clinton School of Public Service. Political experience, no prior election experience, but she did graduate with a master's from Clinton.
Of course, I've never done this before.
Yeah, still feeling a little nervous about going into November.
But she was on a farm for 9 years.
I feel elated. I'm ready to take it to the mat. This is what we've been fighting for these last 8 months, is to really be able to make some change for the people of Arkansas, and this is our chance.
Absolutely. We do know that it's also been called on the Republican side. Tom Cotton, the incumbent here in this opportunity. What do you still feel the same about being a representative of Arkansas and with Tom living in Virginia? What are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. Let's just be honest here. Tom Cotton is a resident of Virginia. He does not represent the people of Arkansas. Arkansans are ready for someone like me.
That is a great response. God, she's got that Clinton master's degree. He's a representative of Virginia, not a representative of us.
Someone who's got dirt under their fingernails. Someone who is close to the problem. Someone who is willing to take it to the mat every single day on the Senate floor to fight for them.
What's next? We have a couple months into the general election. What's next for you?
This is a shoe leather game. I'm going to put 10 toes into every single community in Arkansas. I'm going to shake as many hands as possible. We simply have to get out there and give the people of Arkansas the opportunity to believe in ourselves again.
Yeah, I know we've been...
Okay, 81% and 19% in that primary. Let's just get a little bit of Tim Cotton. I'm sure he's fucking doing his thing. This is 4
thank
days
you.
ago.
I also want to address artificial intelligence and data centers. I hear a lot of conversation from Arkansans about that at various levels. At maybe the highest level, you might say, they're very concerned about the threat that China poses. Just in the last week or so, China has released another open-weighted model, and they want to make sure that we maintain our advantage over China. They recognize at another level the great potential that artificial intelligence has for scientific breakthroughs, for healthcare and pharmaceutical breakthroughs, maybe to cure cancer or Alzheimer's and other terrible diseases. At a personal level, I think a lot of them are very excited about it. Many of them are using it in their business, whether it's a giant business, whether it's a small mom and pop business, or maybe just using it for their day-to-day needs, where they're getting rehab for regimen for an aching knee, comparing pickup trucks they're going to buy, developing a summer reading plan for a kid to have them ready to go back to school. All very positive, constructive things. On the other hand, they are worried about what it means for their communities to have large data centers in or near them, especially what it might mean for the strain on infrastructure, most notably on electricity and what they're going to pay for their power bills, whether the power is going to be there during terrible winter storms, summer heat waves. So, Mr. Sir, let me start with you. If a data center brings and pays for its own generation, so you've got a data center that the hyperscalers are bringing in, they're going to build it, and they pay for the generation, they pay for the grid upgrades. Should ordinary families and businesses also pay for those same facilities? I would assume not.
Senator, there's a longstanding tenet at FERC of beneficiary pays. So the person who is reaping the benefit of the new line, the new generation, should be borne the costs of that infrastructure upgrades, and we take that seriously.
And that means that the people who are building these centers and using them for all these important purposes, they're willing to put down the money to build their generation. Arkansas ratepayers, businesses are not going to be bearing those costs either.
That's a core tenet of when the president brought the governors from PJM together to agree on what the rules of the road are in the Ratepayer Protection Pledge. And I applaud the governors for coming together in a bipartisan manner with the president and doing so. And that has been something that's been expanded. That's been something that's been agreed to by all the major hyperscalers, and that these costs in which they're going to incur, they're going to be assigned to. And it's something that we're going to hold them to. It's something that the states need to hold those hyperscalers accountable for on the retail level. And I think it's an all of the above approach as it relates to assigning costs to the data centers themselves.
Which those hyperscalers right now are perfectly willing to do. They're willing to make those investments.
Absolutely.
Ms. Sweat, I see you nodding your head. You've had conversations with them, I presume.
Yes, sir. I have met with many hyperscalers who are at a minimum willing to pay all the costs associated with their interconnection, and many of them are going beyond that and offering to subsidize the community with additional infrastructure programs or even bill subsidies.
I think the CEO of one of them said that even if they spent a few $100 billion more than was necessary, in retrospect, it was a worthwhile investment. Mr. Rosner, I see you nodding your head.
I completely agree. We've had them come before our commission and testify there, and what they say is, we'd like to go fast, and we want to pay for it. And so my view is let's let them. And to your point on investments in communities, I mean, we've got examples of them putting a battery in every home for people affected by, having the data center nearby. Things like that are great. Other things that they've done to lower regular bills, I'm completely in favor of that.
And
okay, you know what? I'm going to go with Tim Cotton just because I don't like the Hillary Clinton machine. Let's go on to the next one. So right now we got Democrat. You should vote for the Democrat in Alabama. Vote for the Republican in Alaska because they're fucking him. Vote for the Republican in Arkansas because the Clinton machine is out to get him. And now on to Colorado and John Hickenlooper, who has been in Congress for 21 years, up against Mark Baisley, who has been in Congress for 7 years. John Hickenlooper, the incumbent right now, is up first. Let's see what he's got. Primaries.
Today, Coloradans have once again made their voices clear. We are not going to accept Trump's broken promises and cost of living emergency or his constant corruption. I want to thank every voter who once again put your trust in me. Thank you to everyone who picked up a phone or talked to a friend, made a plan to vote. And thank you to State Senator Julie Gonzalez. Thank you for your passion and your fight for working Coloradans. To your supporters, I hope you will join our fight. I've always believed
he is thanking everyone, saying he's going to fight, and it's all about Trump. So right now, get rid of this guy.
that we are our strongest when we are united together.
Grifting.
I also want to thank our extremely dedicated team they've crisscrossed Colorado. They put in countless hours, and they've never let up. Most of all, I want to thank my wife, Robin, and my sons, Teddy and Jack, who have sacrificed hours of our time together as I've traveled back and forth to Washington and all across Colorado. I'll be forever grateful. Now, our democracy is at risk, like we've never seen before. Our president has punished Colorado for voting.
Hey, and the only way that you can save the democracy is voting for the guy who's been in office for 21 years.
By mail, he's broken his promise of no more forever wars. He's wasted billions on this unwanted war.
If you want to fix the oligarchy in America and stop the evil Donald Trump, this man who's been in Congress for 21 years, he's gonna finally do it if you vote for him in November.
Well, it's claimed more than a dozen American lives. His secret police are terrorizing communities. They're beating, killing people in the streets. We will not accept his cruelty nor his cost of living emergencies. We stopped Trump from selling our public lands and using his billion-dollar slush fund to pay off criminals like Tina Peters. We have 127 days until polls close on Election Day. I still never lost an election. I don't intend to start now.
This is exactly why you should lose.
But stopping Trump is just the beginning.
All he's saying is stopping Trump, just the beginning. You've been here for 21 years. Why didn't you stop him for the last 10?
We need to unrig the system and deliver the big...
You're the rigged system! You've been here for 21 years! You've never lost an election!
Solutions that Coloradans deserve. First and foremost, we'll address Trump's cost of living emergencies. And that starts with fixing our healthcare system and, well, actually getting to universal coverage. We're going to fight to restore the Republicans' cruel health care cuts and to create a public option. We'll bring down prices by empowering Medicare to negotiate all drug prices and rooting out fraud and abuse. Health care is a right. It's about damn time that every Coloradan has a medical home. We're going to also bring down prices in every dimension. We're going to create more jobs.
They're going to bring down prices in every dimension. He's talking about multiple dimensions, guys. 21 years in Congress, John Hickenlooper. He's going up against Mark Baisley, who's been here for 7 years as well, the Republican. Let's see what the Republicans got to say.
Colorado.
Well, this is him for governor. I don't need that. That was him for governor a year ago. That actually gives him probably more of a
Colorado is at a
Let's see what this ad is that he used to run for governor a year ago.
Breaking point. Our streets are dangerous. Criminal illegals are protected by our state government. Families are being crushed under a Democrat-run economy. Radical liberals have no answers. Their destructive ideas have only made things worse. This ends now. Meet Mark Baisley, a tech pioneer who spent 40 years safeguarding America's secrets, from NASA to defense giants like Raytheon, an innovator who developed cutting-edge tech for national defense at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a business leader who built 2 high-tech companies, creating jobs and engineering solutions. A state legislator since 2018, he's battled to bring new jobs to Colorado, torch job-killing...
All right, one of each side, right? They're just attacking each other. Nobody cares about actual politics in Colorado, but I'm still going to say let's try to get rid of John Hickenlooper of 21 years since Mark Baisley's only been in office for 7 years. So Mark Baisley on that one. We got 3 Republicans, 1 Democrat. Oh, I was going to end the poll, but we're back to 100. Let's do the 4th one then. Our next one is Chris Coons. I'm guessing this is Delaware. Chris Coons of Delaware. And I'll tell you how long he's been here in a second.
Leading off our discussion tonight is Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. He is a member of Appropriations, Foreign Relations, and Judiciary Committees. Senator, earlier I mentioned that New York Times reporting that the Defense Department is changing the death toll numbers.
Chris Coons has been in office for 150 years, for 25 years. Still crazy.
War to exclude 4 fallen service members from the official count because their deaths occurred during the ceasefire. What message do you think that sends to the families of these service members?
He doesn't even have his mic on. Watch this.
I think you...
Bro, 25 fucking years in the Senate, and bro didn't even turn his mic on.
Muted, Senator.
The longer that they're there, the worse they are, period. Like, now I'm starting to think we shouldn't vote for Tim Cotton.
Apologies.
No problem. I thought it was on my end at first, but...
No, it's just me forgetting how Zoom works. I've been here for 25 years.
Hundreds
It's a little
of
hard
American
for me.
service members who've been injured in the line of duty and not adequately reported. And as someone who was at Dover Air Force Base yesterday with President Trump, with Secretary Hegseth, with other senators and House members and senior generals, the Chief of Staff of the Army, it seemed perfectly clear to me during that somber military ceremony where 4 families received the remains of their fallen loved ones, that they did not die during a ceasefire, that they died as a direct result of an attack by Iran.
It's actually kind of disrespectful to do that to them. But who's he going up against? Because he's been there for 25 years and he doesn't know how to turn on his fucking mic. And he's going up against Michael Katz. Oh, no.
I'm Dr. Mike Katz, your 2026 Republican candidate for United States Senate.
You're what I'm looking for?
I'm a pediatric critical care anesthesiologist, business owner, former Delaware State Senator, family man, and a man of faith.
Is everyone in Delaware just like low T?
Our campaign is building a coalition of Republicans, independents,
It's Coons, but a Republican version. All right, so let Coon win, I guess. I'm going to say vote for Coon because this guy's fucking scaring me. He's actually annoying me even more. All right, let's get to Hakeem Jeffries marking 100 days at the midterm election campaign. Hakeem Jeffries trying to pull his first Donald Trump He's doing his first rally. Hakeem Jeffrey's first rally today. Those are the first 5 races, guys. We will go through all 35 races over the next week or so. The first 5, though, I would say Republican there, and then I would say on the Delaware, go for the Dem. So I would say it's Alabama, vote for the Democrat. Arkansas, vote for the Republican. That's also the senator because he's getting fucked over. Alaska, vote for the Republican senator because he's getting fucked over. Colorado, vote for the Republican because John Hickenlooper has been there for 21 years. And in Delaware, even though John Coons has been there for 25 years, the other guy is so low T, you have to vote for the Democrat. So we got Democrat in Delaware, Republican in Colorado, Republican in Arkansas, Republican in Alaska, and Democrat in Alabama. Let's get to it. What the fuck, guys? Come on. You're supposed to give me the... Now you're going to throw me an ad again? All right, here we go.
In the Lehigh Valley. Running for Congress when I was 10 years old as a paper boy. Sometimes I worked 2 or 3 jobs.
There's a Pennsylvania guy.
Delivered pizzas, washed dishes, bartended, and driven a beer truck. So you might be wondering, you had somebody representing the... I'm proud. Ban bill.
Where the fuck is...
On lowering costs. Let me just get done for the good people. Let me just say... What's up, Bethlehem? Man, it is good to be in a House of Labor here today. Let me just say, I'm proud of the fact that there are more union workers working today than the day I took office nearly 4 years ago. We support the union way of life. I'm grateful we got some big union leaders in the House. Maurice Cobb, the Secretary-Treasurer of the PA AFL-CIO, is here. Thank you. Jimmy Riley, who's been a friend for a lot of years from the operators. And Bernie Hall, our leader of the steelworkers, is in the House. Thank you, Bernie. And we got a lot of important folks here. I want to just say a special thanks to some of our elected leaders. Josh Siegel, our Lehigh County executive, is here. Thank you, Josh. Tara Zarinsky, our Northampton County executive, is here. Thank you, Tara. Jeannie McNeil, the deciding vote in the State House every single time. Thank you, Jeannie. And I'm thankful that we've got our former Congresswoman here who believes in unity in the Lehigh Valley, Susan Wild. Thank you, Susan. A good friend for a lot of years. I feel like it's important, since we're in a House of Labor, for me to reiterate a promise I made to you years ago, and a promise I've kept, that on my watch, Pennsylvania will never be a right-to-work state. We will always respect the union way of life. And I got to tell you...
What he's saying is we will always take your state income taxes.
I'm so grateful to be your governor, to be the 48th governor of this great Commonwealth, to go out every single day with a singular focus, which is to get shit done for the good people of Pennsylvania. Thank you for that opportunity. And we've seen real progress right here in the Lehigh Valley. We've grown our economy, landed the largest private sector investment in life sciences history right here in Pennsylvania, where Eli Lilly, out of 300 places across the country, chose the Lehigh Valley for 850 new jobs and a $4 billion investment. And let's be clear.
Make sure you double tap. Make sure you double tap. Hit that like button, y'all, because we are 3 likes away from 100. Please, please, please hit that tap. Show's almost over. See if we can get to 100.
And laborers and
I don't know what the hell's going on with their bullshit feed from fucking C-SPAN.
Facility. We're seeing great growth, not just in our economy in the Lehigh Valley, but in our schools as well. Just flourish.
live coverage.
As you know, what?
Well, that was supposed to be Hakeem Jeffries. Minority Speaker Jeffries speaking. All right, we're still below 100 now. All right, that's the end of the poll. Let's get it. Ends it. Daddy Trump being in the poll made Gavin Newsom win, and Donald Trump did not even become the number one third-party candidate. That's what's crazy, guys, is that at the end of the day, when Donald Trump was finally offered to you all, Donald Trump, he got the same amount as Afro Man. Donald Trump and Afro Man at 20% as a third-party candidate. Tucker Carlson at 21% as a third-party candidate. Mr. Beast, Jon Stewart, Kamala Harris, and Matthew McConaughey, 22% as a third-party candidate. And still the reigning third-party candidate, Snoop Dogg, with 25%. No third-party candidate has ever won our poll in overtime. 20 wins now for Mr. Gavin Newsom. 64 wins for Mr. J.D. Vance. I will see you all very soon, if you want to, for a groovy musical session of about 5.5 hours as we recall 27 years ago today, Woodstock 99 Day 2, the day that music burned to the ground. If you're interested, I will be back live in about 5-10 minutes with that. Until then, see ya, or tomorrow when we go live with whatever Daddy Trump is doing. Until then, peace, deuces.